Consequence Podcast Network.
This episode brought to you by
Nick B.
Hey, Nick
Fun
B.
fact about Nick B. He was a fisherman.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah?
That's how he got the whale and ate it, was he's a fisherman.
I guess that checks
Oh.
out. Yeah.
He was on a whaling ship, a whaler.
Yeah.
It's a vessel, I think, when it's for whales.
Okay.
Yar!
This episode also brought to you by
Ori.
Ori.
Hey, Ori. And we are so excited because
Yeah.
this is the patron formerly known as Ryan, who's
Yes.
officially changed her name to Ori. And I love it. It's so pretty.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yes, congratulations. So I am super grateful for Ori in general. And Ori invented the best thing in the world, guys.
Is it cold brew?
It's fucking amazing. No, it's not cold brew, but Ori invented the most amazing treat in the world. So take a Reese's cup.
Yeah.
It's a Reese's cup, guys. And put fucking Reese's Pieces in there.
Yeah.
It is amazing.
They make that. Like,
Oh my
that is a
gosh.
thing they make.
I know, but Ori just mailed some to me and I just found out about it the other day. And oh my God. It's like, I'm going to eat these for the rest of my life.
It is the best of both worlds. Yeah.
Yeah, and they have one that's kind of like a Snickers too, except it's Reese's Cups with caramel and Reese's Pieces in there. And oh my God.
I've actually never had
Ori.
one, but it sounds amazing.
Oh my God, you're a genius,
Yeah.
Ori.
Ori, I think that's a beautiful name, and congratulations.
This episode also brought to you by
Matt.
Borka.
Hey, Matt. Well, his name isn't Orca Borca, though. His name,
No.
so we still got to say his name is Matt.
Right, his name is Mats. And
Yep.
Mats is from Sweden, as the
Yep.
Orca Borka may have suggested to you. And he wants us to give you guys some fun Swedish facts. Now, I'll be honest with you, my Swedish fact this week does expand past Sweden's borders, but I'll make it make sense when we get there. Here's the fact. An average of 1,836,000 meatballs are eaten daily in all of IKEA's 313 stores worldwide.
That's a lot of meatballs.
That's a lot of meatballs. Yes, Mikey, it is. And the way it ties in is that IKEA was founded in Sweden in 1943 by someone whose name I'm gonna butcher.
Is it IKEA?
It is Jonathan Smith IKEA. No, it is Ingvar Kamprad. And I probably butchered that. I'm so sorry. We now return you to another episode of The Patreonicals.
Isaac and the forces of Thunderdome, Dington, were defeated by Eddie.
I am defeated.
That's right.
And Isaac retreated. He only has a few people with him.
Right.
Everyone else died. They're all dead.
Oh, everybody else in the Patreonicals died?
No. Just Isaac's army.
I'll say this,
Oh.
if you're a named character, you're probably safe. But if you were described previously as some Terminator-type robots, you're probably dead at this point.
Eddie was like, this is our chance. We can destroy them forever. Gather up everybody, and we're going to go to Thunderdome and burn it down.
Nice.
This is our Thunderdomington Day.
Yeah. So they've gathered up, and Eddie found Tristram broken and malfunctioning because he was trying to tunnel under everything.
Oh
Right.
no, I was never programmed to tunnel.
Jen, he was programmed to tunnel. He just wasn't programmed to tunnel while fighting gophers.
Oh, yeah.
Eddie's sad because, he was his friend once, and then he got turned into a Terminator robot made to kill him. So he loads him into the car too, and he's like, maybe we can repair him and fix him back over in Thunderdome.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So they're doing that, and all the mammals and people are going with them to go kill everyone at Thunderdome because they're tired of all that stuff. So cut to Thunderdome, and Michael's there. He's raising an army to overthrow Isaac because he's tired of war and he wants to make peace with Mammaltopia.
Right.
Okay, sounds good.
It checks out.
Matthew is knocked out on the motorcycle. Mickey Mac is driving with the koala, and Kate is kind of tired because she killed 100 Terminator robots from the sub.
Yeah, she kept fisting them over and over and over. Yeah.
Awesome, but with their own fists.
Yeah, it was amazing.
And Kate and Matthew, and they're like, oh my God, something's going to happen at Thunderdome. I could just, Chip and Dell, we're headed this way.
Hey, you said it right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they saw the submarine turn into a plane and take off, right? So they saw the direction it was going. Yeah, they know.
I can feel it subbing in the air tonight.
And Michael's on the roof of the tallest building, and he's like psyching his people up. And he's like, all right, guys, when they get here, we're just going to surrender, and we're going to make peace, and we're going to give them everything they want. We're going to join them because they are better people. Like, we've done wrong. Like, look what we've done. We've killed these people. The bloodlust is real. Maybe there's a better way than having two people fight to the death to decide things.
Yeah, maybe
It's
there
a
is.
point every civilization gets to at some point.
So he goes up to his penthouse to like chill out and wait for Eddie and his army to get here.
Mm-hmm.
Then a bright light comes down on top of the penthouse. The same one that saved Kate from the Thunderdome.
Oh my God.
And then Michael looks behind him, and it's the golden retriever.
What?
From Homeward Bound?
From Homeward Bound. Yes, Jen, you're correct.
Oh my God.
And the Homeward Bound golden retriever says, Michael, I'm with the Illuminati.
The Bark Illuminati.
Yeah.
And us and the Knights Templar are together to control the planet. And while we can't have you surrendering to Mammaltopia, Thunderdome has to die and it has to burn. So then the dog is like, I'm sorry, but you have to die.
Oh,
And
no. And just
the little cat from Homeward Bound was right behind him the whole time. And the cat just slices his neck, and he just bleeds out right there, slowly.
The cat goes Puss in Boots all over him and just stabs him to death like Zorro?
Slashes his throat. The dogs disappear. The dog and cat, the Homeward Bound animals disappear. The Illuminati.
Did they disappear through light like they appeared through light?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so then some people from Thunderdome come up there and like, oh shit, Michael's been murdered. They'll never accept our surrender. We must fight to the death.
All right.
Now, if you cut down Miggy Mac, Matthew, and Kate, they all saw really strange stuff above the penthouse. They saw the submarine hovering above the penthouse when all that happened.
in the flash of lightning, right?
Yeah, in the flash of light. No, well, then in the beams of light going down.
Oh, wait. So the Homeward Bound animals are from the submarine?
Yeah.
Oh, so they're working with Chip and
together.
Dale.
Right.
Yes.
Holy shit. I need to like put in the dun, dun, dun.
I know.
I feel like
I
that
mean,
was a
they
big
are
ass
all-
revelation right there. Okay. So what's going to happen when everyone gets to Thunderdome? When did the Templars and the Illuminati get together? How the fuck
I
did the
know.
animals from Homeward Bound develop light travel? Find out next week on another episode of The Patreonicals. This episode finally brought to you by Chris.
Chris just wants everyone to know that you are not alone. You are loved. No matter how scary and alone it might seem sometimes, there's always somebody who will listen. There's always somebody you can talk to. The Facebook group is a great place to go to for that.
Guys, the theme music spilled its liquor all over me while I was driving, and we just ran over some pedestrian that may or may not be a sad teenager or a murderer.
You didn't run over him. He flew up and hit Ryan Phillippe in the face on top of the car.
Thanks, theme music.
I don't think she likes me anymore.
Did she hear the podcast?
Yeah, is it because she listened to the podcast, Mikey?
Yesterday, she made me come over and she made me hold her guinea pig while she tried to cut the guinea pig's nails. And that's like
not what I was ready
relationships-
for.
that's like relationship stuff, so I'm out.
And you want to be a father. Welcome to the Horror Virgin, everyone. I'm Jen.
I'm Mikey.
And I'm the horror virgin Todd, which means I don't like scary movies, and you guys make me watch them. And this week, you guys made me watch a movie about teens that murder people. I know what you did last summer.
Technically, yes.
Yes.
Wait, we'll get to it because,
I mean,
we got
this
some thoughts about this movie.
Okay, that's fine. This movie follows the villains. That's all I'm saying. This is the
Well, that's
movie that
true.
follows the villain characters in the movie and then portrays them as the heroes.
Yeah, it's there's some complexity to this movie.
Until the third act, they're like, I'm not a bad person.
Oh, thank
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah. Oh, my life is so much better now that I realized we're not murderers. But I honestly,
Exactly.
I sort of get that. The guilt of murdering somebody would weigh on me so much that I do not talk to
like-
my ex-boyfriend and I cannot pass college. So I
right.
get it.
Or wash my hair.
I get it. Yeah, exactly. I get it.
It's until you find out you tried to murder a murderer, and then you're like,
Oh,
I tried to
thank
murder a
fuck.
murderer.
He was a murderer? Oh, then we were justified in murdering
Exactly.
him. Yeah.
It's like when Jaws tried to save all the teenagers from Seacopter.
Yeah. You don't know the bad shit Seacopter was into, guys.
I know, man. It was the 70s, so,
Cocaine.
Anyway, so, hey, we watched I Know What You Did last summer.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
I've got a lot of thoughts about this movie. I could
I do
write a
too.
dissertation.
Well, we're going to get into them, Mikey. So you guys, I'm sure, have seen this movie before, right?
In theaters.
You saw it in theaters? Jen, did you see it in theaters?
I don't remember if I saw it in theaters or not, but I'm positive that I would have gone to see it in theaters. I
Sure.
just don't have a memory of it.
Right.
Which kind of sums up a lot of my feelings of this movie.
So how did you feel about it when you first saw it?
I thought it was okay. I was like, that's a movie.
Jen, how did you feel about it when you first saw it?
I think I, at the time, knew that it was not as good as Scream, which is what it's clearly trying to do, but I did really like it.
Yeah.
And it's a fun, nostalgic kind of comfort movie. You know,
Yeah.
there's a lot of great things in here, but I feel like in general, it's kind of it just feels kind of hollow to me, you know?
I would definitely say that this is the Scream B team. And
Yes.
it's just not as good as Scream. I wouldn't say it's a bad movie. It did feel very nostalgic for me, even though I never saw it when it first came out in the 90s. But the music was so 90s.
Yeah.
The clothes were so 90s that they're also sort of back in style now, which is weird. But it just wasn't nearly as good as Scream. But it had a lot of Scream elements. So I honestly didn't hate it.
I feel like Scream is such a better movie that it doesn't like seem as 90s as this.
Well, and so that's one of the things I was reading about this, because Scream is really trying to be like a meta slasher, and it's got a lot of those kind of meta elements. And this movie's not really trying to do it. Like, what they were trying to do was kind of update the 80s slashers, and I feel like it does a good job of that. It's just there's not as much depth to it as I think Scream.
No.
And so like when you're comparing the two, like, it's obviously not as good, but there is still a lot to love. But the funny thing, like, I was telling you guys, I was reading the synopsis right before we started, because I watched this movie last night.
Yeah.
I've seen this movie a lot, although I don't think it was ever one that I loved enough to own.
Sure. But you've seen it more than twice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I had forgotten a lot of the plot. I just don't think it's super memorable. There are things that are amazing and that are very memorable, but
It was definitely like watching the movie for the first time. I didn't remember basically any of it.
I will say that I called this movie super early on. It was very, very easy to tell what was going to happen. And then I just sort of sat back and enjoyed the ride of it. And it is sort of an interesting ride. It's not, I wouldn't say it's a bad movie. I did not hate this movie. I think people should watch the movie. It's worth seeing. It's a little insane, but it's interesting.
Todd, did you find the Gordon's Fisherman really scary?
No.
yeah. Okay, so, and I have another question for you too, because this has been parodied a lot in pop culture. Like The Simpsons have a great version of it. So were you familiar with the plot?
Not at all.
But you saw it coming because of the heavy-handed writing.
Well, I will say this. I did know that it was about teens that like covered up something, possibly a murder, and then that came back to haunt them later.
Yeah.
Like, I Know What You Did Last Summer. It sort of implies that.
Exactly.
But no, I did not really know that it was going to be the Gordon's Fisherman. I didn't know that was going to be him attacking them. No.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, I mean, I don't know. We'll get into it.
Yeah.
but
In fact, why don't we just get into the fucking movie?
let's do it.
let's do
All
it.
right, so we start with
God, the music is so bad in the very beginning. It's so 90s.
It is very 90s.
Yeah, say what you will about Typo Negative, which is the band that did this opening song. They sound very 90s, and it's just a sound that like really is annoying to me at this point in my life.
I actually really, really loved the opening of this movie because I think that was just the nostalgia of it. The rocky shore is so cool.
It
and
is.
like, I want to move to a town with a lighthouse, you know? It's,
Oh, yeah. I want to live
It's
by the
really-
beach. Mhm.
It did terrify me that this guy who is, I'll say at least passively suicidal, is just sitting on the edge of a cliff.
oh my God, like right on the
Yeah.
edge.
You would not do that. Like, please never do that.
Don't do it while you're drinking.
A strong summer breeze is going to knock you off of that, right?
You're not going to feel fine, let's just say.
No, you are not.
Yeah, so we got a guy who's wearing Fisher overalls, and he's sitting and he's drinking on the cliffs, and he's sad, and he's spinning the spinny pendant.
Yeah, spinning on my I love you pendant.
It is very sad.
But it's beauty pageant time. And okay, so this is one of the things that I love about this movie, and it's not the beauty pageant.
Right.
It's like the
Sorry, I figured that, Jen.
it's just this feeling of like this town. It feels very kind of like spooky, creepy, small and contained.
Yeah.
It's like, I love the imagery. It really works for me,
It
including
feels
these
like a small
fireworks.
town that is stuck in 1965.
Mhm. In a good way.
Yeah, I don't hate that. And honestly, all of that down to like they're at a local theater and that the women are wearing one-piece bathing suits. They're not like wearing bikinis or anything like that. Was probably more 90s.
Yeah.
And the whole aesthetic is very like, 60s.
Yeah, I would say that the town might be the best character of the movie.
It's certainly the best actor of the movie.
Pardon me. Buffy Summers is in this movie, okay?
Is that Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
Yes.
Okay, let's
Okay.
get this out of the way. Buffy should have been playing Jennifer Love Hewitt's role, and Jennifer Love Hewitt should have been playing Buffy's role, and they don't work in the cross role.
You don't think Jennifer Love Hewitt comes across as a very, very smart woman? I thought she
No.
did fine. I didn't hate it.
First off, they try to ugly her up all film, and it fails horribly.
She is a beautiful woman, yeah.
No one has worn that many wool sweaters in July in a summer.
I did notice that.
Yeah.
Hey, there's a summer breeze, Mikey.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's very
You gotta
cold
wrap
in
up.
North Carolina.
But it was so funny to see her wearing a long sleeve sweater and a long skirt skirt, and right next to Sarah Michelle Gellar wearing like a tank top and cutoffs. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
Absolutely.
one of these things is not like the other.
Well, first, after the murder thing, they try to make her gothy, which is like the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life.
That's how
Emo.
90s understood sadness. Though.
I completely missed that she went through her goth phase.
She did. Her bangs were limp.
She didn't wash her hair for a while.
Is that what that means?
And that's not quite goth because she wears a lot of like light colors.
Jen, I have a metaphor for you that's terrible, but
Well, bring it on, Mikey.
as Jennifer Love Hewitt heals, she wears less and less clothes.
I mean, yeah,
I'll
I got
allow
a
it.
fun fact about that a little bit.
Can I ask a real question, though?
Yeah.
When Buffy the Vampire Slayer is on stage in a one-piece bathing suit and they ask her what her future plans are, and she says that she's going to go to New York to become a serious actress, is that like a slap in the face to like comedic actresses, or is that like I just did not understand what that was, and it was insane to me.
That just means I'm definitely not going to do pornography.
Yeah. I do think that's kind of what it was implying.
I'm going to go to New York, but I'm going to be like a serious actress.
Right. Well, she knows Bridesmaid's not going to get her that crown. That's a good movie, but people don't think women are funny. So
Disagree,
you know.
but whatever. Yeah.
I love
No, hey.
Bridesmaids.
Yeah, and guys, that was Jen that said that women aren't
No.
funny. That was
Yeah,
not
Jen-
me.
I didn't say
Jen,
that.
I believe
I
disagree.
said
women are funny. Yeah.
I said people don't think women are funny.
Yeah, and those people are wrong, Jen.
They're stupid. Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm fucking hilarious. Waka waka, bitches.
Wow. Humor implies a warmness that I don't think you have right now.
Oh, wow. All right. But she does end up winning Miss Small Town or whatever the
She
award
does.
is, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think she's great in this role. She is my favorite part of this movie, and I think her death sequence.
I'm sorry, you
is
think Buffy the
best
Vampire
part.
Slayer is the best part of this movie?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, I think Sarah Michelle Gellar is the weak link of this cast right now.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you see Freddie Prinze Jr.? Did you hear when he talked?
Shit. I forgot how bad he. Yeah, okay. You're all right. That's fair.
They kept him off screen because they knew how bad he was. Like, he's not even in the movie except for the first 10 minutes and the last 10 minutes.
Something that drove me crazy is when they're at the pageant or whatever this is, right?
Yeah, Miss Fish Town.
You don't want to call him that, Jen. While she's winning Miss Clamtown, Freddie Prinze Jr. and that guy that Jen made out with once are allegedly. Guys.
I feel like we're going to have to clarify that because that episode is no longer available.
Is it not?
Where we talked about it. No, I think it was the intro episode.
Freddie Prinze Jr. in front of his girlfriend, who is Jennifer Love Hewitt, is talking about Sarah Michelle Gellar's boobs. And Jennifer Love Hewitt seems like, yeah, she does have a great rack. Like, I don't think that that's how a woman would respond to her boyfriend ogling her best friend's tits. And of course, Mikey's going to defend it.
No, unless you're Jennifer Love Hewitt, who arguably has maybe perfection.
She is an attractive woman, yeah.
Also, it took me 20 minutes to find out if they were dating or not. I didn't know they were dating until like they had sex.
What, Jennifer Love Hewitt and Freddie Prinze Jr.?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's just because Freddie Prinze Jr. is not a good actor that you couldn't really tell if they're together or not. But yeah, I sort of had that trouble too. And then on the beach scene, which we're about to get to, she starts taking her clothes off and he goes, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And she's like, and we're all like, "Yeah, hang on. Are you sure? Like, what's happening right now?"
Yeah. No, I mean, it's not just his fault. The writing. Like, he doesn't say anything about, like, she's my girlfriend, don't hit on her. Or she doesn't say anything like, you're my boyfriend, don't talk about her boobs. Nothing. It's just ignored.
And Freddie Prinze Jr.'s first line of dialogue is how attractive another woman is.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think that confusion is warranted, Mikey. Yes.
Right. Also, like, doesn't Johnny Galecki know that they're dating? Like, this is a small town. There are like 5 kids in this age range.
Who is that?
Johnny Galecki, Max.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
The guy who they tried to cast as a bully, but also doesn't work at all.
Holy shit,
Yeah.
I hated Mac's character because in this next scene that's right after the pageant, which we may as well just get to.
The party.
Yeah, like he's walking around and like just sort of walking through the party. And then Ryan, Ryan is always at 10. Ryan, who is Ryan Phillippe, sorry.
Yes. I called him Ryan through the movie.
Okay, yeah. He's always at like 11. He is so mad. He jumps to violence immediately. This is a guy who's on cocaine the whole time. He has no impulse
I love
control.
him in this movie. I love his character.
Mikey, that does not surprise me at all.
I know.
Because he's like, he plays such a good douchebag. Like, he
yeah.
sold it.
He is a
I
good
do think he's
douchebag.
good in the role.
And I think he and Jennifer Love Hewitt are the better actors of the leads, right? And that is a very low bar, but that is the bar that is set by this movie. But he grabs Max and he literally calls him chum bait. I was like, chum is bait, you fucking dreamboat. Stop saying stupid shit like that.
Johnny Galecki comes out and asks her out in the creepiest way.
Oh,
because he says, like, we've been friends forever. You can't just leave without a goodbye. Fucking yes, she can. Get away from her.
When you say the creepiest way, you mean sort of like she owes him to go out with him because he's been her friend for years. And if they were really friends, he would know that she's dating somebody.
Exactly.
And he would also know that she isn't interested. This is why I hate the friend zone myth so much.
Yep.
He does it in front of, like, I guess her boyfriend, which we don't learn till later, but and Ryan Phillippe, who obviously has killed like 4 people in this town already.
I think if I were Max or Jonathan Gillespie or whatever made up name
Johnny
you're giving
Galecki.
him, Johnny Galecki.
His name.
You know he's in Christmas Vacation too, right?
Oh wait,
Yeah,
that's his name. His real name is
Rusty.
Jonathan Galecki.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
It's Rusty from Christmas Vacation.
Or David from Roseanne. He's beloved.
Wait, he was in Roseanne too?
Yes, he's
Yeah,
the
he was
son.
Darlene's
Holy shit!
boyfriend.
Okay, whatever.
He's been in everything.
I knew I recognized him, but anyway, in all fairness to Max in this movie, when he asked out Jennifer Love Hewitt, if Freddie Prinze Jr. had come up and been like, hey, we're actually dating, he probably would have been like, oh shit, really? I had no idea, because you indicate none of that, Freddie Prinze Jr.
Because you were
in
just
your
talking about her
acting.
friend.
It's like they shot the first 3 scenes of this first and then shot the beach scene where like it's obvious they're together like at the very end of filming. And he was like, oh shit, we're dating this whole time?
Oh, I didn't read that part.
Yeah,
of
he's
the
like, I
script.
did not know that. I wish I had known that.
So the thing that bugs me, the whole thing bugs me, but like, so Ryan goes up and like rage pushes him away from.
Well, yeah, and that's when he calls him chum bait. And honestly, that should have been Freddie Prinze Jr. if that was his girlfriend. Ryan is just on coke the entire movie. So he's like shaking him and calling him chum bait.
But then as they walk away, as Freddie Prinze Jr. comes over and like takes her hand and pulls her away, she like turns around and she's like, oh, I'm sorry. You had consequences for being an asshole to me.
Yeah. Well, and
Right.
Max is a huge asshole in this movie.
Yep.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
I mean, he's an asshole here, even though it's a little bit more subdued. But when we see him later, he's a huge asshole.
Yep, he's an incel.
Absolutely.
This is my favorite part of the movie is when Freddie Prince's group of friends just enable Ryan Phillippe's addictions. They're like, oh, he's too drunk to like be at this party. Let's go to the beach.
Yeah, let's let him drive us to the beach.
Exactly. Let's have our coked out drunk friend drive us to the beach so we can tell the story of this movie through urban legend myths.
Right. Okay, so that's the next thing. We see them
It
on
is.
a beach, and it's really cool. Like, I kind of want to have a bonfire on a beach now.
It was really cool the way they shot it too. And this
It
is probably
was.
the only shot in the movie I'll ever say that about. But it's shot and it slowly reveals them on the other side of a like worn out boat that's on the beach, which I thought that was really
Yeah, I
cool.
like
I thought
that.
that was a cool shot.
So they're on the beach, and they're talking about the story of the hook, and this is absolutely a conversation I would have had with some people.
You've had this conversation on Storytime episodes. Like, no
Yeah,
joke.
we've already had this
That's
conversation.
true. Yeah. So if you are curious about the origins of the story, check out one of our bonus episodes, The Hook. I think it's Lover's Lane.
Yeah, it is. It's one of your
It
first
is.
story times that you did, Jen.
And what's interesting is they all have different variations of the story. And then Julia's like, no, it's just like just shaming people into not having premarital sex, which might have been the beginning of me really liking to analyze urban legends, you know?
I'm sorry, are you accrediting I Know What You Did Last Summer with your interest in feminism and horror? Hang on.
No,
Hang on.
no. With my interest in deconstructing urban legends.
Okay. Okay, thank God. That was very scary for a second,
Well,
Jen.
and then the next year urban legend would have come out, which
Well,
would have
yeah. Which I think is the better version of this movie.
absolutely. So then now Helen and Ryan, Helen is Buffy.
Just call her Buffy.
They're talking about
The first time I realized her name was Helen was just now. I did not know her
Oh,
name
yeah?
was Helen. I called her Buffy the entire time, and I did not hear anyone call her anything other than Buffy because in my mind, anytime someone was talking to her, they were saying the word Buffy. But Buffy and the cokehead are literally talking about how planned out their life is. Like, she's going to
yeah.
go and she will be in her second year of a very specific, like, soap opera.
Guiding Light.
And then he's going to be the quarterback for the Steelers, and then they're going to go off to
Cowboys.
oh, sorry, the Cowboys. And then they're
No,
going to go
he
off
corrects
to
her.
Oh, does he? And then
Uh-huh.
I didn't realize that. And then they're going to
Oh,
go
yeah.
off to like a tropical location, and she's going to allow him to impregnate her with their first of 3 kids. Like, it was this very specific and ridiculous plan.
Yeah.
After he gets her pregnant, he goes to rehab for the first time. She says that.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
She
So
also
funny.
says that it's not going to take because she says the first time.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And so I want to mention Alexandra West wrote a book called The 1990s Teen Horror Cycle. And she's got a chapter about this movie. And she actually goes into a lot of detail about what these conversations represent, about where like this generation was, because this was after like the OJ trial and it was after like the Monica Lewinsky thing. So there's a lot of like social commentary of the time that's baked in. We're not going to go into it, but I highly recommend this book because it's really interesting.
At least that chapter, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and the whole book is great. Like it's talking about the 90s teen horror movies.
So does it talk about like sort of all of them, like Scream and all of those?
It does.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, cool.
It's one of my favorites about horror. So anyways, check that out.
So guys, if you read, check out that book.
Yeah. So now we cut back to Freddie and Jennifer Love Hewitt, and they are not quite so blatantly about to hook up. But so Jennifer, she's
No, Freddie Prinze seems as surprised as we do.
I know.
This whole scene, I was like, are they friends?
Well, so what I think it is I think this is kind of playing into that slasher, like virgin final girl kind of trope. So they're not making her super sexual.
I get that, but they do have sex here. So she
They do,
very clearly isn't a virgin, at least right now. I'm not sure if she lost her virginity on the beach, but whatever. It's none of my business. I don't give a shit.
But this is my favorite line of the full movie is, you know, high school sweethearts have the most success of any kind of type
my
of
God.
relationship.
Cite your source, Mikey. I really liked that part. But so they're about to go to different colleges and they're like, oh yeah, sure, we'll still date, which, you know.
I thought that they were actually talking about how they weren't going to be able to date because they'd be in different places.
No, they said they would because that's when he's talking about the relationship will make it. You're in Boston, I'm in New York.
Yeah, but honestly, Boston and New York are not super far away. You can take a train to go there. Like, staying together is plausible, I think.
Yeah, but this is before FaceTime.
This is also before they murder somebody. So, I mean, plans get thrown asunder.
And that's like one of the elements I think is interesting about this movie. It's just kind of like a change of life movie, you know, where like they're like growing. It's like a coming of age kind of story because they're like losing their innocence and seeing how like friendships fracture and like relationships. You really try to keep it together. Like my boyfriend and I, we went to the same college, but he went a year before me and we were like, yeah, we'll definitely stay together. And nope. And I was at the same college, you know, you just change.
In between my sophomore and junior year, my girlfriend went to college and we broke up. And then the next year it happened again, like with a different girl. So like that is very common, you know, it's just not going to work out.
Some do, but like a lot of times it doesn't. And that's okay.
I had to be realistic with myself.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I think this conversation is interesting because I think they're both kind of aware of that, you know, whereas Buffy and Ryan have like this whole future planned out that's like so unrealistic.
They are living out a cocaine haze. And they have no idea what life is really like.
I don't think Ryan Phillippe's super invested in that plan.
Oh, no. He just wanted to get laid. I mean, it sounds like a fabulous plan, though. So, I mean, I guess he would be like, okay, fine.
But if you break down the dialogue, Jen, we know he's not set on them being together because he changes the name of the team from the Steelers, which is closer to New York, where she's going to be, to the Cowboys, which is almost as far away from New York as you can get.
This is that in-depth analysis that I come to this podcast
Absolutely.
for.
So Ryan Phillippe, not only is he high on coke the whole movie and drunk most of the time, he also does not want to be with his girlfriend and takes death as sweet release.
Yeah. He needs some therapy. He needs to chill the fuck out also.
Jen, 100% is in the mode of, I can fix him.
Well, look, I tried.
Allegedly,
For the
Jen,
record.
you allegedly tried.
Allegedly, yes, meaning it
Did
didn't
you really
actually
make out
happen.
with him?
No. Here's
No.
here's the genesis of this story.
I forgot that the intro episodes changed to include Mikey now, so we no longer have that story. You should tell it here.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so Ryan Phillippe and Reese Witherspoon were dating. They were dating at this time when this movie was shot, and I got fun facts about that. But they were married for a long time. But so Reese Witherspoon is from Nashville.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, and she and I dated the same person. So not at the same time, but like we share an ex-boyfriend. What's so stupid is like I used to hate Reese Witherspoon and I wouldn't watch any of her movies because I was so jealous of this guy, like this stupid guy that we both dated that neither of us date anymore because he's an asshole. I told this story in close proximity to me telling a story about how I also used to make out with people behind the theater at Nippers Corner.
So did I.
And somehow Todd has retconned this story into me making out with Ryan Phillippe behind the Nippers Corner Theater. And I'm not exactly sure how we got there, but the legend has grown.
Yes. And listen, I also made out with people behind that theater that no longer exists anymore. So I mean, I might have made out with Ryan Phillippe back there. I don't know. It was a strange time in my life.
there.
Yeah. It was dark. A lot of trees back there. You have no idea what's happening.
But so that's where the legend of Jenn and Ryan Phillippe came from.
And honestly, Ryan Phillippe, if you want to refute this, you come on this podcast and either admit or deny that you and Jenn made out behind the Nippers Corner Theater.
Yeah, Ryan Phillippe, if you've made out with both Todd and Jenn,
I'm on board.
you have to make out with me now.
Here's the irony to that story, because as listeners know, I am very vocal about who I am into when we watch these movies.
Yeah.
And I just have never really been into Ryan Phillippe. He's just not really my type, you know?
Do you think it's because Reese Witherspoon got with him?
No, I think it's because he's so fucking angry in this movie and I don't like it.
You're not attracted to cokeheads anymore?
Anymore is very correct. Yeah.
We've all made mistakes.
So now it's time to go after everybody is, I guess, cleaned up and had sand sex.
So have you guys ever done that? Have you guys ever had sex on a beach with no blanket? Don't do that. I mean,
that's what I've heard.
Oh, man, it's a nightmare. You'll find sand in weird places weeks afterwards.
It's just a recipe for infection.
Yes, don't do it.
You know?
I mean, honestly, sex on a beach, great. Bring a towel, though, is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Bring a towel, bring a blanket, whatever, or go to the car.
Why did they bring a blanket? It was like they were right near the fire.
They're in high school, Mikey.
Well, let me tell
Yeah.
you, high school Mikey kept a blanket in his toolbox in his truck.
Aw, and it never got used?
Shut up.
Oh my God. Anyway, now they are driving away. And
Barry is shit-faced, so they don't want him to drive.
that's Ryan. Yeah. And I do like that they are responsible enough to have let Ryan, who was coked out and drunk, drive them there, but not drive them home.
That's where they draw the line.
Right. We do see them take the keys away, and he's like a typical asshat about it, but nobody drives my car except for me. But anyway, so they let Freddie Prinze Jr. drive, which is a bad idea, but whatever. It's what happens.
He does look like he's got 10 and 2.
I mean, it is a better idea than letting Ryan drive, because he's shit-faced, right? But of course, Ryan sticks his head out the sunroof and he's like, woo, I'm rich as fuck and my life is great and I don't give a shit about anybody. And he drops
I'm never gonna die.
Yeah, I am a golden god. And he drops his liquor onto Freddie Prinze Jr.'s lap. As they're trying to pick that up and clean that up, they slam into someone. Question mark. And his boot goes flying and they freak out. And then they get out of the car and go check it out. And man, I hated when Jennifer Love Hewitt walks around the corner with Freddie Prinze Jr. And instead of saying, hey, the body's over here, what we hear is, ah! Or whatever.
It's so out of the blue. It's so weird.
It's so weird. Yeah, it is so weird. Anyway.
My favorite part's the body hitting Ryan Phillippe in the face.
It does bounce right off his face. Yeah.
Okay. How did his entire top half of his body not get cut off, Final Destination style?
He's like, that's not my blood.
Yeah.
I'm totally uninjured. But yeah, so he's fine, except still drunk and furious. At first, they can't see anything. They don't know what they've hit. They just know
it
they
was
hit
a
something.
deer or a dog or something.
Which I would say is a fair thing to think. You know, you're going to assume it wasn't a person, right?
Until they find a bloody boot.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And they're like, what is this all about?
And then the other shoe drops and they find the body.
Oh, shit. Yes, Jen. Yes.
Fantastic.
And so they turn around and they say, oh, I think there's another booter. Ah!
Yeah.
And then nobody else screams. They're like,
no,
what
it's
the fuck?
just her. Everyone has their shit together. But for whatever reason, Jennifer Love Hewitt, who normally has her shit together, loses her shit.
That's one of the things, like I was reading some stuff and they were praising her screams. I was like, no, that's one of the things that I really disliked because it's like she's at an emotional level that nobody else is on. And it just feels weird.
Read the room, Jennifer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or everybody else act some more.
Anyway, so they're trying to like, what do we do? Is he dead? Feel for a pulse or whatever. And Freddie Prinze Jr. is like, I think he's dead, but I'm not a medical doctor, so I have no idea.
And to be fair, she does say that. Jennifer Love Hewitt. She's like, no, we need to call an ambulance because you're not a doctor and you can't say if he's dead or not.
This is 1000% a time where they should have listened to the women in the movie because it is an accident.
Yeah, it was an accident and they're minors.
And Freddie Prinze Jr. is like, I'm covered in alcohol. They're going to assume I'm drunk. They may assume that he's drunk, but they could do a breathalyzer test and tell he's not drunk. Like, they would be fine if they just called the cops.
What I think this is so interesting, this scene, is like they clearly don't trust the police to believe what they're saying. And there's a level of Freddie Prinze Jr.'s like, no, I'm from a poor family, so they're not gonna give me the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Exactly. Or even if they do, I can't pay for a lawyer to defend me.
Yeah.
You know? And then Ryan is like, well, I've got this perfect future planned out for me, so why should this mistake that I made ruin all of that? Which is something we hear, unfortunately, too much, because what about this guy that you just ran over? He had a future too.
And doesn't Ryan say something about he'll lose his college football scholarship or some shit like that? Yeah.
And it's just going to wreck the whole rest of our lives, which I think, like, I can understand that. And I understand wanting to pretend this terrible thing didn't happen. And one of the things I think is interesting about this movie is it kind of explores how that weighs on you, even if you are able to get away with it.
Yeah.
And the consequences to the people that you hurt with this stupid mistake. Because, of course they don't want to have to face the consequences for that. But I mean, that happens and you have to live with what you've done.
Yep.
And the best thing they could have done was call the police.
Yes. This whole movie would have been like a 911 phone call away from not happening.
Although, to kind of reflect what's happening right now, I can understand them not wanting to call the police and not trusting the justice system to protect them, you know?
I mean, they're white. They'd be fine, which is unfortunate.
and they're
That's
privileged.
unfair. But that is sort of the problem with the justice system right now.
Right, exactly. But there's also that level of like classism, which I think they're kind of trying to go for.
I just don't think there's much of a difference. And I'm talking about in society right now. Like, I grew up poor and white. I wasn't raised to be afraid of the cops, you know?
Yeah.
I would say there is some level of classism in our society, but it's much more racist than classist.
I definitely agree with that, yeah. Although class and race do go hand in hand a lot of ways.
Well, yeah, because of redlining and other minority thing, like, and
right.
other
systemic racism.
Yeah, systemic racism. Yeah, absolutely.
Ben, what I'm saying is I feel like if this movie were made now, there would have been a willingness to make that more a part of the conversation. And here, because there's no diversity in the cast, they just can't really go there, you know?
And even the stuff they try to pull about the classism, where like he says he's poorer than the other families, the only person who seemed actually rich was Ryan Phillippe. The other two just seemed not that rich.
Right.
Yeah.
The only reason we know Ryan Phillippe is rich is because he has a car and lives in a big house, but that's not like a huge part of his character, you know?
Right. Well, he's got the BMW. Yeah, it's all half-assed.
Right. Yeah. So all that to say, I think there's a lot of interesting conversation that you could have about this scene and the motivations of these characters. And I think the movie does an okay job, kind of.
It does a 90s version of that, yes. I think
It
if you make
does.
this movie now, Ryan Phillippe would have been a good actor, probably an African-American actor, and then you could have that conversation of, they're definitely not going to believe me. You know?
Exactly.
But I just don't buy it with Ryan Phillippe because he is the whitest white milquetoast, white mac and cheese dude you could ever find who's white.
Right.
And I just don't buy that he's afraid of the cops.
Right. Well, and I don't necessarily think it's that he's afraid of the cops. I think he's afraid of like the stain this is going to leave on his life.
They're afraid of consequences is what they're
Right.
afraid
Sure,
of. And
I
they're
get
just
that.
being dumb teenagers
Yeah.
is basically what this movie's about.
Yes.
Well, and that's when you've always had everything you ever wanted and you never had to face consequences for anything. Then even a consequence like, oh, they don't like me anymore, or I lost my scholarship to
Right.
my number 1 school, but I'll just go to my number 3 school. You know, those are the consequences you're afraid of. Okay, and so they decide not to call an ambulance, but so they decide they have to dump the body because she says, like, there's physical evidence, you know. As they're trying to figure this out, they hear a car coming, and it's Johnny Galecki, who's Max, which, okay, and they can see him. It's a really turny road, so there's not, like, a lot of runway. Like, he can clearly see that they're picking a body up and carrying him across the road in his headlights.
Max is such an asshole right here.
He really is.
For zero reason, he's an asshole. And I realized Ryan was a dick to him earlier, but he's such an asshole in this scene.
Yeah.
He's an incel.
He is an incel. Yeah, and we've already seen him be really creepy with Jennifer Love Hewitt, too. So,
Yeah, absolutely. So Max doesn't see anything, or does he? But I mean, he drives away, right? And they give him the
Right.
excuse of, you know, Ryan's just super coked out and real drunk, you know?
Yeah. So that now they're driving up to a creepy dock and his body is in the back of the trunk. And this is when they notice he's got a sailor tattoo.
Yes.
So Julie wants to like check his wallet.
Yeah, just so they can see who it is. And they're like, why do we even need to know who it is?
Right?
It's not like we're going to need to verify that this is a certain person so that later in the movie we know that it's a different person who's actually after us. We don't need to know that. Let's just murder this guy.
Exactly. Although they think he's still dead.
They think
but-
he's dead, Todd. Well,
Yeah,
for a
but
second.
when he like literally jumps up and grabs one of their arms or whatever happens here,
crown.
Oh, that's right. He grabs the crown. Good point. That's when they legit murder this dude.
Right.
They're not like, oh my God, you're alive. Thank God. Let's call the ambulance for you.
Okay, so I could see them being startled and just wanting to get him off and push him in the water.
Right.
But Ryan Phillippe jumps in the water.
Well, yeah, because he can't lose his girlfriend's crown.
Exactly. Although, I mean, how are you going to explain that you lost that crown? So, I mean,
well,
I
and
can
also
get that.
when that body washes up on the beach with your crown in its hand, a crown that you just won that night at a pageant, and a crown that
Right.
has not left your possession since you won it. Yeah, there's no way Sarah Michelle Gellar is not going to jail for that person's murder with that crown.
That
Right.
detective's like, I think we have a clue.
Yeah. But it doesn't say anyone's name on the crown. So,
Oh, not
Guess it's a dead
Buffy.
end.
She's going to New York to be a serious actress,
exactly.
not a
yeah.
pornographic actress, Mikey.
I love Buffy.
Oh, I
She's
thought
great.
for one second you were going to say pornography.
Oh, no. No, that's off brand for me.
Honestly, it is.
Yeah. Okay. So they end up kicking him in the water, and it's interesting because Freddie Prinze Jr. starts to kind of back out of this,
Yeah.
and then
Well, so does Jennifer Love Hewitt, and then Buffy sort of steps in and
Yeah,
sort of
yeah.
makes it happen. They push him in, and then,
Mhm.
of course, as we said, Ryan, in his coke-fueled haze, jumps into the pool with plastic seaweed that's up there.
it's like a fish tank.
It is like a big fish
Well-
tank.
Buffy yells, my crown, my crown.
I forget, does he get the tiara back or not?
He does.
Okay,
Yeah.
but they do leave something on the dock.
That's the little pendant spinner thingy.
Oh, that's what it is. That's what it is. The pendant spinner, yes.
But it's so weird because like this guy, can this guy not swim? Like, why does he immediately sink like he's got rocks
I
tied
think
to
you're
his feet?
being very mean to someone who has
think he
just
got
been
hit by
run
a
over
car.
by
Yeah.
somebody.
Well, that's true.
I think he's in a pretty bad physical state. And honestly, Jen, we do find out that he can
I
swim.
know.
Yeah.
And then Ryan Phillippe yells at them like, say it!
Oh.
Say we'll never talk about it till you'll die!
By choking Julie.
yeah.
Yeah, he puts his hand around her neck. And Ryan Phillippe didn't even,
Freddie Prinze Jr. doesn't give a shit about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Insane. Another reason why he doesn't seem like her boyfriend.
She
No.
doesn't even really seem to be that upset by it.
Well, you might
Like,
say
she's like-
none of them are good actors.
Well, yeah. Yeah, and I just want to say choking is a big red flag. Like that is like a level of
Yeah.
violence that is very predictive of future terrible acts.
Well, but like with consent though, it's fine.
Yes, but this is not consensual. This is enraged.
Yes, Mikey, get consent.
Okay, so now it's
1 year later.
later.
And then they just lost contact with each other because, they murdered someone together and they don't want to
Exactly.
think about that every day.
Right. And honestly, like you do lose contact with some of your high school friends sometimes when you go to college.
Even
too.
the ones you haven't murdered someone with. So,
exactly.
it happens, guys.
Julie's back at college.
Most dramatic look up into the camera shot ever filmed.
Most overly dramatic, I would say.
I just saw her unwashed hair and she's like, this is my dark phase.
Yeah.
She looks different and because she's sad or whatever.
Yeah, but her roommate has to come in and talk about how pale she is.
Her roommate that they could only get for 1 day of filming.
Exactly. And, well, I don't know if it was could only get for 1 day of filming or remember that they should include some kind of diversity in the movie.
Yeah.
And so had to reshoot some scenes.
Well, no, the reason I say that is because at the very end, when we see, quote unquote, see her roommate again, you don't see her. You see what probably is a man in a wig drop off a letter for a pool party. But yeah, we'll get there.
So, yeah, her roommate is there trying to get her out of the room. And, so she's going home because summer's over. So she gets home and she's talking to her mom. And it's the weirdest mom conversation.
Her mom immediately jumps to, "Are you on drugs?" Like
I
it was
know. I want to
insane.
surprise you. Well, but to be fair, she had just cooked her a delightful meal of fish and asked how it was and just got stank eye.
Well, yeah, maybe it wasn't very good. Ever think about that, Mom?
Well, that's
Well,
true.
she also
yeah.
was like, I got your report card. It
Uh-huh.
was terrible.
I did much better in the summer semester, is what she said, or the summer session or whatever. But yeah, I mean, listen, all of this doesn't matter to the story. This is just, she is sad.
Right. And she's having a hard time processing murdering someone.
she was complicit in murdering somebody. I would say it was
Yes.
really Ryan and Buffy the Vampire Slayer that murdered somebody, and Freddie Prinze Jr. and
Yeah.
her were just there while they did it, but they were accessories during the fact, at least.
Yeah. And they did not report it.
Yeah, what we're saying is they belong in jail.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Because that's the thing. It doesn't matter who the person turns out to be. You still did this thing.
Well, they feel really guilty. I actually like this part where it's like these are all their dreams are failed because of this night they made a bad decision, and everybody feels bad about it. They should have leaned more into this.
And I think a movie written now probably would. What we see now is she's got a note on her desk or something. Somebody delivered a note, although it wasn't a mailman.
It was the Gordon's fisherman, but yeah.
It was.
He says, "Eat my fish sticks, are."
I don't think he's a pirate, though. He's a fisherman.
They're all pirates.
I mean, I guess all seamen are pirates. But so she's got a note and she opens it up and
it says the name of the movie.
It notes the name of the movie. Yeah. But mom doesn't know where it came from.
Okay.
Or what she did last summer. And I do like that she doesn't open it. So later that night, she hears a suspicious noise and does the exact wrong thing when you hear a suspicious noise, which is open the window, lean out, and say,
do you want to murder me now?
Exactly. I'm right here, and I'm making it super easy. Fuck, have you never seen Scream or any other
Have you
movie?
never seen the movie you're ripping off?
Exactly. So now she's got this note. And so she goes to Shiver's department store, which is where Buffy the Vampire Slayer works, although we don't know that yet. We know this is like her family's store.
Buffy's sister is played by Sonya Blade from Mortal Kombat. Dun, 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 dun,
Oh,
dun,
is
dun,
she?
dun.
She's Veronica Vaughn from Billy Madison, too.
Oh, that's how I know her. But yes, and she's really mean. But this is the family department store, so she knows that she will be able to figure out where what Buffy's address in New York is.
Yes.
And so she goes and asks mean sister, excuse me, can you give me? And she's like, oh, you mean 10 feet over there in her failure land?
I mean, does she say that she's a failure? I mean, it's just her sister saying she works here. She's like right there. I didn't think this was as mean-spirited as you did, Jen.
No, this is exactly what an older sibling
That's
would
true.
do when people love the younger sibling more.
I am the youngest sibling.
That makes so much sense.
I know, right? But this is one of those times when I do sort of like see the older sibling. Like if my younger sibling was like, I'm going to go to New York and be a famous actress, and she was like that her whole life, and then she fucking failed, I'd be like, ha! Eat a dick and get behind that perfume counter or whatever.
Yes, but you're also forgetting that her whole life, the oldest sister, has been groomed and forced into taking over the family business, and she may not wanted that, and then they're like, oh yeah, your sister's going to be a great actress, and you're going to run the family business, and it's all bullshit double standards because the oldest doesn't get the choice and stuff. It's whatever, fine.
Right,
Yeah.
because the oldest doesn't realize that it's actually their life and they can make their own decisions, but they have this thing that they have to please people, and they have to please their
like
parents.
a true younger sibling. We're like, I don't care about what the family think. All right, well, you can find my younger sibling over in women's shoes because she didn't go to fucking New York.
She did go to New York, fell in with a bad
For 2
crowd.
months.
Yeah, right? And then made some...
She became an illegitimate
She made
actress.
some quick money and then came back. That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying in this universe, there are some tapes out there of Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
No, not my Buffy. So it didn't work out. But there's Helena, or there's Buffy over there, and now they can talk.
Right.
So they talk.
Yeah. And just, we were so careful. And I wrote, were they? Like,
No, they weren't.
Jen, me too. I wrote, no, you weren't at all careful.
I know.
You literally left a medallion on the dock.
Right. And did they clean the blood out of the car?
No.
Like, water does not solve all of your problems. So now they're walking to a super fancy house. And there's Barry, like, surveying all of the land like a Coke dealer at the top of his balcony.
Oh, so during their conversation, Buffy and Ryan Phillippe broke up, and they're like, we should go talk to him. He'll help
Right.
us for some reason.
Because we've never met him or heard anything he's ever said or done.
Because in the past year since we've broken up, he's changed his personality completely.
So, of course, he's on the balcony drunk. He's a drunk 19-year-old on his parents' balcony while his mom's on the phone. He's like, what the fuck are y'all doing on my property?
Yeah,
Right.
wearing a tank top.
Well, and so they go up and they're talking to him on this balcony, and then he's still a dick and he yells at Julie again.
Well, yeah, because he's like,
Uh-huh.
what are you guys doing on my balcony?
Right.
Do you want to read my script for House 6?
I got the first 30 pages right here.
But yeah, so she's saying, yeah, we murdered him. And even if he was alive in the wild, like, he's not alive now because of us. So
Right.
potato. Like,
Well, and then Ryan like yells at Jennifer Love Hewitt because he's like, bitch, my mom's inside.
exactly. She might take away my keys for the night. Oh.
He's a loser. I mean, he is a loser. He lives at
Yeah.
home. He does nothing. He has no job. At least Freddie Prinze Jr., even though he didn't go to college, has a job.
But so they find out that the person, like, Julie was doing some research, and she found out his name was David Egan, the person that they
Yes.
killed. and that everybody is broken up and nobody's friends anymore. And they think that it's Max, who is Johnny Galecki, because he's like the only other asshole in town, I guess.
He's the only other character we've met at this point. Yeah.
Exactly.
Their high school class was 7 people.
Yeah, I know. And the other 2 died, so we only
so
know
it's
these
like,
5. So they go to the dock, and Barry says he's going to handle it because he's a big, strong man.
God, I hate Ryan Phillippe so much in this movie.
I do too.
Because he's always at 11. He goes
yeah,
up to
but
Max.
it's so good. It's the best part of the movie.
Oh, he's sort of great. Yeah, I think Ryan Phillippe's a good actor. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
saying that. I just hate his character.
I do
Oh,
too.
yeah, but you gotta kind of love it because he's gonna be like, I'm gonna go in there, I'm gonna rough him up, and he's like, because he tries to beat up a serial killer like twice.
Right.
Like that is coke-filled delusions. I'm like,
Yes.
He's like, just point him out in the crowd. I don't need a weapon. I'll just chase after him and
Exactly.
kill him right
Oh
now.
my God.
He goes
yeah.
over to see Johnny Galecki, and he pulls him over and yells right in his face, hey, remember when we did this crime? And here's all the details, and we know you know, and even if you didn't know, you definitely know now.
I know. He was like, I thought you were just throwing up
I
that
know.
night. I had no idea you murdered a guy. Thanks for telling
Exactly.
me.
Now all the girls
Yeah.
are mine.
I am the ultimate incel. I hate Max too. Fuck him.
Yeah. Well, and then Barry grabs this fishhook thing, which is really cool.
It's hook shadowing.
It is hook shadowing. Yeah.
It's to move the ice blocks.
It is. Yeah. And you could do like ice blocks and hay bales and stuff.
Or bodies. We find out later you can move bodies with it.
Yes.
Are mannequins dressed like characters in the movie?
That's more accurate. Yes, it's true.
But then, so we see the fishhook thing, and he's like menacing him with that. And then they cut back to now they're on the docks and they run into Freddie Prinze Jr.
Well, yeah, because they're walking away, and then both the girls are like, what did you do, Ryan's like, don't worry about it. I fucking handled it because I'm a man.
Right, exactly.
And then they do run into Freddie Prinze Jr., who they thought, I guess, was off at college because they all lost
Right.
contact with him. Yeah.
And I just wrote, it's tank tops for everybody.
Yeah, well, yeah, okay, yes, okay. I wanted to point this out. Ryan Phillippe is in a white tank top, and Freddie Prinze Jr., who there is a little bit of foreshadowing that he may be the bad guy, is wearing a black tank top, not unlike the one that Jenn is wearing right now.
Who's wearing? Oh, yeah, me.
You,
Yeah.
Jenn, it's you, the one that you're wearing right now.
That's true.
I do like that they're like, oh, you became a fisherman, you fucking loser. Like, all of them.
Exactly. Oh, we live in a fishing village where literally that's what most people's jobs are. But
I know, and at least I have a job, you loser Ryan who lives with his grandmother playing Counter-Strike in his basement. Like, what are you doing, you idiot?
But yeah, like there's nothing wrong with having a job and working and doing
No.
like manual labor. Yeah.
Does he have his own boat? It's implied that that boat at the end is his.
Yeah, it does kind of
might.
imply
Like,
that.
honestly, if he has his own boat, he's doing all right. Like,
Exactly.
good for
It's
him.
probably
I'm-
like a 6-figure boat. Yeah.
yeah, like, good for him.
I did like that. She asked him what happened to Boston. He's like, I went there for a little bit.
Didn't work out. He got
Didn't
roped
work
into
out.
some porn. is
There-
the thing.
Oh,
he got into some illegitimate fishing,
I
guys.
know. He was trying to be a
Ugh.
serious student, but you know, so people would take him seriously. But I do think like one of the things that's interesting when Julie and Dude are talking, Freddie Prinze Jr., who is so uninteresting that I can't even remember his name. But she's saying, I don't blame you. I'm responsible for my own actions. I just don't want
Yeah.
to know you anymore, which I have always thought was interesting.
I like the way she worded that. Yeah.
I do too.
that hurts,
yeah.
man. That's a carefully weighted ex-girlfriend thing to say to you to
Yes.
destroy you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Because that's something you think about. Because she said, I don't blame you, but I don't want to know you either. And like in your mind, you're like, well, you do know me. We dated. We had
Right.
sex on a beach. You have sand in weird places still because
Still.
of me, even though it's a year later. So what do you mean you don't want to remember me? Is this like a situation where you go have your memory erased, like that like Jim Carrey movie that no one ever saw?
I have been there, Freddie Prinze.
But I also want to say, like, it's a totally legitimate thing to say that to someone and say, I
Yeah.
just don't want you in my life anymore. And that doesn't mean you're being a bitch to that person.
No, and even if you didn't murder someone together, that's a fine line to draw.
Exactly.
Well, it's not like he's been knocking down her door, like bugging her or anything.
True.
No, and I think he does have appropriate boundaries because he
Yeah.
doesn't like always show up at her place like with flowers or being weird with a boombox over his head.
No, because he's got a damn job.
So now Johnny Galecki is doing like fish stuff.
Yeah, Max is working. He's just working,
Yeah.
and that's fine.
Like
but I
lobsters.
did like that he was the first to die. I don't know why he's the first to die.
Yeah.
But I like that he was the first to die.
Why does he get killed? I don't understand.
I don't get that either, but I liked it because he's like the red herring, right? Or you're like, well, maybe it is him.
He's the killer.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you know it's not him once Ryan coked out yells at him. But
Right.
he is the first to die. I like that.
He is the first to die. Do you want me to talk about this in fun facts or now?
If you know why, tell me,
do.
because
Yeah,
it's
tell
going to
us.
bother me.
So originally, he did not die in the movie.
Oh, really? They just
Oh.
hated him so much, they were like, we got to kill Mike or Max.
Wow.
Jeez.
Okay, then.
My bad.
Sometimes you don't have to wear a black tank top to be a murderer. Anyways, when they watched the test screenings, they were like, no, we've got to have some kill sequence earlier in the movie so that it establishes the stakes of this killer. So that's why they added that in.
I think it's a good ad.
I do think they framed him as a red herring originally in
Yeah.
the movie. Yeah, they just didn't have him die. So
I also like it because Max is legit 5'3", and
Yeah.
the killer's like 6'2". Like, there's no way it could have been Max.
right.
Right.
I like that they kill him off early because they're like, oh, you think it's Max? It's not Max.
Yeah. Well, and Max was there that night too.
Guy doesn't know that. He was passed out the whole time Max was there. That's the reason I don't
True.
understand. I'm sorry my voice got really high. I had no control over that. I'm just saying it's crazy.
So, anyways, Johnny Galecki's working with fish and ice, doing his job.
You know, like you do.
Exactly. But now the hook is gone. Ah! And so it's in the fisherman's hand, and he's got this giant black rain slicker, and he's walking up through the mist, and he hooks Johnny Galecki with like right underneath his chin and like
yeah,
slams
it's through
his
his
head down.
face. Oh, it's
Yeah.
rough.
And one of
that's
the
pretty
things that I do really like about this movie is I like the look of the killer. I don't think he's necessarily the most effective killer, but I do think it's really kind of creepy when you see him in the fog, I think he's a scary killer, and he's got a hook
He's the Gordon's fisherman. Yeah.
with a murdering hook, though. And
Yeah.
Gordon's fisherman has a yellow jacket, right?
Well, yeah, it's Gordon's brother. It's like his younger brother who didn't have to take responsibility of the fishing stick business.
Right.
He had all his free time and just decided to start murdering.
Yeah.
Well, and what's
Yeah.
funny is his older brother, Gordon, was always such a dick to him. He's like, yeah, he tried to make it in the fishing business, but he can't. He's working over there in retail.
He washed out. Yeah.
I know. So he's got a lot of bitterness, and it's kind of manifested in murderous rage.
But yeah, Max does immediately get Candyman in
He
this
does.
movie. Yeah,
Yeah.
which I thought was great. So, okay, we are now to the boxing montage, and I have
Yes.
been waiting to talk about this scene for
I have to.
conservatively 2 hours and 3 minutes because that's how
Yes.
long we've been recording. He is boxing. Fine. Mikey,
Yeah.
you probably know more about the
Yeah, yeah.
boxing stuff than I do, so I'll let
I'm
you
ready.
talk about that. Let me just say, it really bothers me that Ryan is wearing dog tags in this scene. Why is he wearing dog tags? He's not in the military. He's not in the JROTC or ROTC. Like, he is just wearing dog tags.
That was a thing in the 90s.
This gym allocates more space for lockers than it does workout space.
Yeah.
Which is like a really weird choice. The shower room is bigger than the workout area.
Yeah.
It's on the waterfront, which is like a weird place to put a gym.
When he leaves after getting his note and runs out and chases the car, it looks like a boat dock. Like, it doesn't even look like a gym.
Looks like Gym Shack.
Yeah, it does look like Gym Shack. Yeah.
Gym
and then-
Shack, boxing Gym Shack.
Bam, bam.
There's a sign-up sheet for sparring partners, but there's no ring in the shot at all. There's no ring in the gym for them to spar in.
It's not big enough, Mikey. They have to go into
Yeah.
the street and fight in the street like men.
Yeah.
It all
How do you know
bothered
if
me.
you're a man or not? If you never fought somebody when there wasn't enough ring space in the actual gym. in
It's
the
like
street.
that Rocky movie where they don't actually fight in an actual professional fight. They just fight in the street.
Yeah.
But anyway, the dog tags really fucking bothered me. I was like, what are you doing? He like got those at Spencer's Gifts. Like there's no way those are legit.
Definitely.
Yeah.
One of them says like boxer and the other one
The
says
other one says shorts.
oh, boxer shorts. I got it.
There you go. Welcome to the joke conversation.
Anyways, he's boxing. Then he goes and takes an ominous shower.
a few ominous showers in this movie.
Yeah, and it made me think like I liked working out at the gym when there was nobody else there because I just don't like being around people.
Mhm.
But it could be very creepy and somebody could easily murder you that way. So
Well,
you know.
there is one guy there because when he goes back to his lockers, he finds
Yeah,
the
that's true.
Polaroid and it says, I still know or something like that on it.
It says I know written on the
Oh,
back
yeah.
of the Polaroid. And it's a Polaroid of his car.
Yeah.
In the parking lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he goes and talks to the guy at the front desk who's like reading the paper and he's like, hey man, it's just you and me, buddy. I don't fucking know anyone else is here. And then he
Right.
hears the car start driving away, which I think is his car.
It is his car. It's a real power move.
Yeah, it is a real power move. But I mean, he left his
Mhm.
clothes and stuff in the locker, so his keys are probably there too. Like, that didn't
Right.
bother me. I just thought it was interesting. And anyway,
Right.
he starts chasing his car, which is dumb. And
Never
then-
chase a car. A car
No.
is a deadly weapon.
Especially if you already know the plate number. It's your
Right.
car. Like, you can tell the cops everything about it. They'll find it later.
And you're not going to run faster than a car.
No,
Right.
you're not, Ryan. I don't care what your dog tags say.
I don't care how much coke you've done.
Exactly. And then I guess the murderer thinks, oh, wait, he ran me over in this car. Wouldn't it be super ironic if I ran him over in this car? And so he chases after him in his own car. And then Ryan Phillippe just decides the best way to avoid a car that's coming at you is to continue running in a straight line forever.
Oh,
Right.
God, that part bothered me so bad. I was like, just jump on anything around you, brother.
Literally.
Yeah.
Or serpentine at least. Like run around in weird ways.
Jump off the dock.
There's water down there, though.
Oh my God, yes. And that is the problem, Jen.
But he runs over to the side of a shack, and the Gordon fisherman's like, well, fuck that. I'm just going to drive through the shack. It's not even my car.
It's not.
I got this protective rain slicker on, so I'm cool. He runs and Ryan like jumps on top of the car, but he still gets hit, and he like gets like car slammed through this building.
You're like, oh, he's dead. And then you see the Gordon's fisherman guy walk over to him and stand above him. And then I'm like, okay, he wasn't dead, but he's definitely dead now. And then that's
Right.
the end of the scene. The scene ends there. It drove me insane.
The reason is because this is adapted from a book, and this is part of what happens in the book. But also, you've got such a small cast. If you kill him off at this point, he can't interact with the cast anymore.
Well, that's how it works, yeah.
But the next scene is literally Ryan waking up in the hospital with the ladies around him, right?
Right. But so they're talking about what they should do, and Freddie's starting to say maybe we should just come clean. And they're starting to kind of think it might be Freddie Prinze Jr. at this point.
Yeah, this is when they start foreshadowing that. Yeah.
Yeah. Ryan is still being a dick about everything.
So this is when the ladies start like sleuthing, right?
They do. They start investigating because
Yeah.
they actually do something.
They go to the internet and do some research and like
Oh, yeah,
track
they Google
down-
search.
Yeah,
Right.
they don't Google
It's a
search.
giant laptop.
Guys, they don't Google search. And I thought this was very funny to me because they're looking for a fisherman and they're using net search. And I thought that was very funny. I was like, I wonder if that's like a nod, or it was like early days of the internet, so it may have just been
Yeah.
like, we'll just call it net search. But they find out that the guy that they killed, quote unquote, killed, right? Because
Yeah.
they didn't actually kill him. But his sister still lives like in the sticks in
Yeah.
North Carolina
Yes.
somewhere. So they decide to go
And-
visit her, Anne Hayes.
Right. And that the year before this happened, Susie someone
Yes.
was his girlfriend, and she died. She drowned after a car accident they had when David Egan was driving.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and everybody blamed him.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so now they're going out to the Egan house. And I just want to mention, because Buffy is wearing the worst cutoffs I think I've ever seen in my life.
Oh,
at
yeah.
this
Oh,
point.
what? These are the best cutoffs.
I mean,
Oh my God,
they're
no.
not really though,
Oh.
Mikey. They're not like super revealing. They're just cut in a very bad way.
I know. It's so like some of the fashion here is great and some of it is so god awful.
Yeah.
I was like, dear God, do you have a mirror on this set? And it's just very 90s.
I like the juxtaposition of her with like a really skimpy tank top and the cutoffs, and then Jennifer Love Hewitt with a full wool sweater and a full like long jean skirt.
Right.
Yeah, Jennifer Love Hewitt sweating through all of her clothing.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
she's the nerdy girl, so
Right.
she's got to be
She hasn't taken her glasses off and ponytail down yet, Mikey.
right.
That's true, yeah. But it's just the 90s fashion in this movie I was so amused by. Because I was like, oh, yeah. Yeah, because when I'm saying those are hideous, I'm talking to Jennifer of the past who used to wear shit like this too. And I'll see myself in pictures and it's like, holy shit, why did we wear this stuff? Okay, so Anne Heche is the sister.
Yeah.
And she's wearing some like poor sack dress, which I actually thought was really cute. She's the sister of David Egan.
Yeah.
And her name is Missy. And they're using fake names that they just thought of right now.
They do make it clear that they just thought of them. And I think it's funny because they're horrible names. And it's very clear they just made them up. Like, and they also had
Exactly.
a long drive into the sticks to
Right.
come up with a cover story. Like, what are you
Right.
doing? Like, think of this stuff before you go
Right. But so Buffy is going to go in to make a fake call.
to AAA.
Yeah. But she almost runs into like a slicker. Like the slicker of foreshadowing.
Yeah, I
hanging
was like,
on the
oh,
door.
that was a coat rack jump scare. Like, what? It wasn't
was.
scary at all.
I do think they were kind of trying to go for this Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibe here.
Yeah.
You know? And I mean, there are moments where she's a little bit creepy, but it's very like try hard.
I mean,
you know?
I think the only time she's super creepy is when she goes back out to the car when the girls go out there and she slams on the windows super hard and like, oh, you forgot your cigarettes.
Right.
First off, you don't return cigarettes. You just now have cigarettes. And
Exactly.
you don't slam on someone's car door like to give them anything back.
But so they're talking to her and she's saying like her brother committed suicide and it was really sad because that's what she thinks happened. And sad fact, Anne Heche does have a brother who committed suicide in real life. Yeah. So this was a little bit difficult for her.
Yeah. Well, I
to
mean,
film.
it does come off as the best actress in the movie. So that's probably
She
why.
does.
Yeah, she's really creepy and sad.
Yeah. But so she's saying like things haven't been the same since he died and she lives alone. But there was the friend that he had named Billy Blue.
Yeah.
Which is the dumbest, most fake sounding name.
She doesn't know his real name. She's like Billy something, Billy Blue or something or other. Like,
right.
Can we take a time out and appreciate that Freddie Prinze Jr. felt guilty, so he went to meet this guy's sister and then slept with her. He fucked the guy's sister he murdered.
Wait, did
that's
he?
right. She said they were sweet on each other. Yeah.
Oh my
Now,
God.
it doesn't necessarily say that they had sex.
Oh, you
but
could
it
tell.
could
You could
have.
tell.
It's implied.
And then at the end of the movie, he tells Jennifer Love Hewitt he's always loved her after having slept with the dead guy's sister.
Yes.
You know, they're trying to get over their trauma.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're doing stuff, but they didn't really work that plan out.
I mean, they're sleuthing though. They're actually
are
actively trying to find out what's going on, not just try and beat up the problem like Ryan Phillippe is.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Or working like, Freddie Prinze Jr.
Right. Freddie Prinze Jr. is like nonplussed about this emergency mystery that's
Get
going on.
fired.
He's like, listen, I've got to work, guys. I don't have time to fart around with you guys.
Right. Although Buffy does have a job.
She does, yeah, but it's her dad's business or her family's business.
Counterpoint does not want anyone finding out he slept with the dead guy's sister.
That is true.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. I mean, it would be real awkward if he went out there. He's like, Billy, you got all my emails?
Billy, I'm
Guys.
pregnant.
Yeah.
I mean, they kind of
I named the baby Green after you. So Buffy gets home.
Yeah, and it's like night, right? This is like when she gets home at night and she goes and she's like talking to her dad for a second, but the murderer's also in the house, right?
Right.
I thought this was actually a pretty effective sequence because
I did
she
too.
keeps missing the murderer, even though the murderer, for whatever reason, Gordon does not run. Like he just walks everywhere. So he like walks into her room as she comes around the corner and is going up the steps. I thought
Yeah.
that was really effectively done.
He's got a bad knee from a car accident.
Honestly, I wish they had explained that because it drove me insane that he like walked everywhere. If he had like limped everywhere, it would have given it away because you'd be like, oh, that's the guy they hit. But at least that would have explained it. Anyway, so I thought they were going to get into a fight in her room and she was going to use those ice skates to like get away, like stab him or something, which would have been very
like
cool.
an H2O?
Yeah, I don't know. I've never seen that movie, but yeah, something like that. And then she just goes to sleep with the murderer / inappropriate dude in her closet.
Not before sister tries to make her work the next day, even though she's like the only person that can be in this parade. And how did you not realize this was a thing, sister? Don't schedule me on this day.
I think that her sister scheduled her on that day on purpose.
Me too.
Because she's being a dick. Yeah.
Yeah. She's like, fuck you and your attention.
Yeah, nobody cares that you won the pageant and that you're the pretty one in the family.
But so sister's there and he's like in the partially opened closet, which is why you never go to sleep with your closet not closed all the way. That's stupid.
Yeah, because if you close the closet all the way, they can't get out.
No, there's no way. It's impossible. Yeah. And so she she puts the crown on for a little bit and like reliving because she's got to give it up the next day. Also, it has the blood of the man she murdered on it still. And she forgot to clean it off. But then she wakes up and she's got the crown on her and all of her hair is cut short.
It's not cut short. It's like cut at varying lengths.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although, man, they did her a favor because her new hair looks way better than her old hair.
Can I stop you right
I like
there,
the
Jen?
long hair.
We know because the scene that happened the night before with her sister, we know that she was supposed to be at work at 10:30. So the parade's starting before that, right? So she wakes up and has time to go to a salon and get her hair fixed between like 8 and 10. I just don't think that that's possible. That was
Well, that's true.
That like bothered me the most.
She's the sea queen. They're going to bump people for her appointment.
I'm sorry, Janice. We got to bump you because this girl who won the Sea Queen last year and has done shit else since then has to get her hair fixed.
It's less time than that because don't they meet up the next day and she's wearing her hat with her hair in it and then they make the plan? And,
oh my God. Yes. Yeah, so she has like zero time. That's insane. You're right.
Anyway, so we find out that someone cut all of her hair off and that there is the word soon written in lipstick on her mirror. So, of course, she punch erases it.
Yeah, and then, of course, that's 7 years of bad luck. As if she already hasn't had one, she now has 7 more. Yeah, well done.
Right. So Julie gets a call, and so she drives over. But so as Julie's driving over, she hears clicky, clicky, clicky.
Yeah, because she's got some junk in that trunk.
She does, yeah. She's got some Johnny Galecki in that trunk.
Oh, she does.
So she pulls over, and she opens, and there's dead Max with crabs all over him.
Yes. Yeah, someone definitely gave him crabs.
A lot of them.
So then she runs off. She runs to their house. They're together.
Yes.
Brings them back to the car, and there's nothing there.
Right.
So here's why I hate this movie. So in broad daylight, 8:30 in the morning, the killer comes back, removes the body, and every single one of those little crabs with nothing left in the trunk.
And then wipes it down, returns her original contents of the trunk to the trunk just to gaslight her? Like, there's no real reason to remove it, but that dude's a quicker picker-upper than Bounty Towels. Like, he's so fucking fast.
Broad daylight in a suburban neighborhood.
Right. Yeah, it's not like they're even on the side of a deserted road or anything.
They're not. There are houses in plain view. Yeah.
They should have left some crabs in there at least, and then they would have been like, oh, the crabs were making the noise. Crabs get in our cars all the time because we're at the ocean or whatever.
Right. I mean, that is a common problem. You never want to drive your car on the beach because you will find crabs in the weirdest places for years.
For years, guys.
And then they don't believe her. Like, someone just broke into this other girl's house and cut her hair off, and they're like, oh, fuck you, Jennifer Love Hewitt. Someone put a thing in your trunk. Get out of here.
You dumb bitch. Like, Ryan is so one note in this movie. To me, he feels a lot like a more aggressive, like physically aggressive Dennis from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Like a true sociopath.
But this is one of my favorite parts of this movie. Because she runs around and she spins around the road and she says, what are you waiting for?
Yeah.
And it's so stupid, but I love it.
It is very, very bad. Yeah.
Like, who are you talking to?
At the end of the movie on his boat, this scene is one of the 2 pictures that he took earlier in the day, got developed, and hung up on his boat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was probably a Polaroid, so I get that, but whatever.
All right, now they go find Freddie, and he got a letter too, but they think it's him because like he's got his black Sharpie and his stationery poking out of his pocket or something.
Yeah, they do sort of ham fist to make him like the bad guy.
They really do, yeah. But so Barry punches him, and they're starting to like come apart at the seams, but Julie's like, no, we have to solve the mystery together.
Yeah.
And so now Julie thinks that the killer is Billy Blue, who is, because that's not a terrible name.
And Freddie is like, no.
Nobody's named that.
Yeah, that's a ridiculous. He definitely didn't sleep with Anne Hayes. No.
Right.
What?
But so they're going to go look at the yearbook to see if they can figure something out.
Well, yeah, because they're like, well, he was in our school. He just graduated a few years before us. So we have his picture in our yearbook.
Right. But Buffy has to go to her parade, and Ryan has to go protect her for some reason because he's definitely something you want around longer than you have to. And so it kind of cuts a little bit back and forth. But there's also this weird, like, montage where she's like, it's July 4th, it's his day, so of course he's going to try to kill us all now, and we have to do the right thing. It's very like convoluted, like Independence Day speech, you know?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Where does Freddie Prinze go today?
He goes back to work.
So it's parade time. Here's what I thought was weird. She's got this like really fancy float and she's looking all pretty in her hair that looks way better short, by the way.
Looks great. Yeah. She got a Rachel.
But but she's got Ryan Phillippe just like schmarming and raging all over the front of her float.
Yeah, he's like a douchebag hood ornament on the front of her float. Yes.
It's like they're going like 10 miles an hour. You can walk next to her.
And he's like mean mugging kids.
Yeah.
Go look at my girlfriend.
Well, and then she, from the top of her float, sees a guy who's dressed like the Gordon's fisherman. And so she's like, Ryan, attack! And so he runs after him. Yeah.
Yeah, and pushes through like 9,000 people and then assaults an old man.
What's his plan there?
Cocaine.
Yeah, his plan was cocaine.
Yeah. But then she sees a fisherman standing on top of a roof and she's like, Ryan, go scale that building and knock him over. No, but he's already gone.
Yeah.
But like that is the point. Like there are a million fishermen all over this place because it's a fishing town.
Yes.
Apparently they cut a line here saying, so what? So I'm supposed to look for the fish sticks guy. So they were going to make that an explicit reference, but they thought that having like a funny line there would cut the tension. So they cut that out. But so now we're back to Julie at Missy's house and she's just wandering around. But so Missy isn't there yet, but we see a lot of dead animals around. And then Missy's like coming at her with a knife because she's in her backyard for no reason that's apparent to Missy.
No, she's cleaning that turkey she killed.
Oh, yeah, that's right. But she's also like, what the fuck are you doing in my backyard? And I've got a knife in my hand. So
do you guys know Billy Blue? I miss him.
Oh, I know.
Billy Blue's my man.
Right.
This whole movie is actually just a love triangle between Anne Heche, Jennifer Love Hewitt, and Freddie Prinze Jr.
Yeah. Okay, but so Julie is telling her basically everything that happened.
Yeah.
Hold on, I just thought about at the end of the movie, there'd be like a news story where like Jennifer Love Hewitt and Freddie Prinze survived this person trying to kill him.
Yep.
Anne Heche would see the news and be like, that bitch is with Billy Blue.
She stole my man. Yeah, absolutely.
What if the sequel was her just trying to get revenge?
I honestly
would be a great
would love
sequel.
that movie. I would love
would
that
too.
movie. You
That'd be
killed my
fun.
brother and stole my boyfriend.
Well, they didn't kill his brother. They killed his brother's killer.
I know.
Well, and so that's what we're finding out now because Julie's like, hey, I'm just going to tell you everything that happened. It wasn't an accident. And she's like, no, he killed himself because it was the anniversary of Susie's death and he feels really bad. And he
Right.
left this suicide note. See, here, you want to have it? And she couldn't say that because she wouldn't get insurance
She's
money.
like, I keep it in the outhouse.
Right, exactly. Yeah. But so the note, it's exactly like the I Know What You Did Last Summer note, and it says, I will never forget last summer. And it's got like signed the killer on it. It doesn't really, but it's clearly
right.
like
It
this.
might as well say that though. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And have like blood stains and
Right.
like, signed not Billy Blue or your brother.
Yeah.
But Julie is like, okay, but this isn't a suicide note. So everything you thought you knew is wrong. This is a death threat. And here's what happens. And Missy gets really mad and kicks her out, which I mean, I can understand.
Yeah, I get that.
So now it's back to the pageant. Buffy is terrified because she's sitting on this balcony with this person that's singing horrifically.
She's not on a balcony, Jen. She's on
No,
the
she's
stage.
on the stage.
This blew
That's
my
right.
mind that they let the former queen, or the one who's going to be passing on the tiara or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
she's on the stage the whole time.
How much fun would that be to be on the stage and just be making all these faces like, nah, or like you could cover your ears when that lady starts singing? It would be like Schitt's Creek level of like meme faces.
Oh my God.
You know?
Yes, absolutely.
But anyway, so and this terrible person is singing Fame.
Not doing a good job. They were like, hey, we need someone who can almost sing.
Right. Yeah.
And who is attractive, right? Because she's
Yes,
supposed to be
yeah.
like a potential winner of whatever Sarah Michelle Gellar won. But she's not a good singer. They don't try and make her a good singer. They just let her go, and it's awful.
Exactly. And I think it's like it's supposed to be awful.
I think so too. I think that's by design. Yeah.
And I did like that because she can almost sing.
Yeah.
So she can sing good enough to think that she's really good. And I just know so many people like that.
She's like my
Like,
ex-girlfriend at
nah.
karaoke. She's like really, passable, but not good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, and you know what? Go for it. If you love to sing,
Yeah.
that's
Hell
awesome.
Yeah. I mean, listen,
Right.
if you have a chance to see Mikey do karaoke, you go. Not because Mikey's great at karaoke. Dude can't sing at all, but he can put on a show.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'll just be sitting on the stage making the stank faces the whole time. Okay, so she's singing terribly, and Ryan is up in the balcony watching.
Yeah, and he's like leaning over the edge of the balcony, but where they were in the very first scene with them, right? I really liked this shot too, where you sort of see Buffy's perspective, and then you see in between the flashing lights or like the spotlights that are like blinding her eyes, you see like the silhouette of the Gordon's fisherman going up to Ryan Phillippe. And then,
Right.
of course, kill him. Like we watch him die.
Right. Yeah. And so as she's like screaming and saying, hey, somebody's killing him up there, which is a legitimate thing to say, the audience swarms her.
Yeah, and they stop her from moving. They
Exactly.
A, don't listen to what she's saying. B, just assume she's hysterical and needs to be helped from herself.
Well,
and
she
then
is a woman, so.
Yeah, so that's my problem,
Obviously.
though. Not that she's a woman, but they treat her like that, like what you're
Oh, yeah,
alluding to.
totally.
And then the sheriff or whatever, the deputy, whatever, takes her up to the balcony and does the shittiest search I've ever seen in my life. And then it's like, there's no one up here, you stupid lady. There's blood
Right.
everywhere, but there's no one up here, so there's no foul play or
That's
anything.
the thing. It's like if he was really killed like that, there would have been blood everywhere.
Well, there was. It was dripping off of one of the banisters up there.
But that's the only. I mean,
Right.
it would have been everywhere.
Sure, but if blood is dripping and this deputy does not see it, he's horrible.
Small town deputies, man.
I get it, man. And then, of course, just like every woman who makes a quote-unquote false report, she gets thrown in the back of a squad car.
Exactly.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah. But not before the old guy says, no. Did you forget to give us your crown, sweetie?
We need that back.
They don't make a copy each year, so like if you're a winner, you don't get to keep the crown for a while. Like
Honestly, she should want to give it back. It's probably got DNA evidence on it of the murder they committed.
I mean, although she got it from the queens before her, so how many murders do we think actually happened that involved
There's
this
no
crown?
telling.
there's no
I
way
know.
to know.
Could have just said, yeah, it was my predecessor.
So here goes the cop car driving down Main Street, and then there's like an ominous one barrier on one side of the road. He's like, I guess we can't go this way.
I guess we got to take the alley. I thought that too, Mikey, because there's one barrier and it's like it's a 2-lane road. Just drive around it, you fucking moron.
Yeah, and there's no
Right.
construction.
The
They
worst.
just did a parade there.
And Mikey, the parade is still going on. We'll come back to that.
Oh yeah, they're having 2 parades in one day. What kind of fucking town is this?
Where a parade never stops, Mikey.
Right.
Anyway, so he goes down the alley and he sees the Gordon's fisherman strangely by a car and not a boat. And he's like, I got to see if this Gordon's fisherman needs some help. So he
Yeah.
goes over there. And then, of course, Gordon takes his hook hand and just stabs him in through the chest or whatever, right?
Yeah. Buffy's trapped in the car.
Well, yeah, because she's locked in the cruiser or whatever.
Exactly.
And then the killer has plenty of time. So he thinks, well, I probably should clean the blood off of this because I don't want to get anyone else I murder sick by, getting the deputy's blood on them.
He's considerate.
He is. And then he slowly walks to the car, giving her ample time to break out the window and run away.
Right. Yep. And so now we're cutting back to Julie for a little bit, and she's doing some giant computer research and discovers that Susie had a father. And so now she's started to figure out this mystery. Now Buffy has just gotten out of the cop car, and she's running over to the store, and she's banging on the window for Elsa, her sister,
Yes.
to open up the door. And she's like, oh, tra-la-la, no, I don't have any sense of urgency.
She doesn't get the key, and then it does take her like 30 seconds. Here's what I hate about this scene, though. We see the murderer walking behind her, crossing the street, like getting close to her. And as her sister's walking to the door, she doesn't see the murderer behind her.
No.
That's what bothers me the most. She definitely would have seen her.
Yeah, she would have saw her.
So she's trying to lock the door, and then the fisherman comes up behind her and hooks her and kills her.
That's a little bit later because she gets in there. Buffy the Vampire Slayer says to her sister, hey, I'm being attacked or whatever. And her sister's like, no, you're not. There's nobody out there. And then they walk to different areas because Buffy the Vampire Slayer says, lock the other doors, right? So the sister goes to lock, I think, the back door. But
yeah.
The
You're right.
murderer's already come in the back door, and that's where he kills, I don't know her name, but I call her Veronica Vaughn
Elsa.
because, for Elsa, right? Anyway, so he kills her and then drags her body with the hook. I thought that was very effective looking.
It did, yeah. It creeped me out.
It did. It creeped me out too. Yeah.
What? It looks so fake.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. It did not look as fake as the ice in the boat later on. But,
Oh my
yeah.
God.
But yeah, so the murderer kills this older sister Elsa or whatever, and then the murderer is hiding, and then Sarah Michelle Gellar is trying to figure out where. Honestly, she should have just run away. She doesn't.
She should have.
She should have just run away. And this is another thing I thought was hilarious. She's in this clothing section of the store, and there's a bunch of mannequins with tarps over them or that plastic wrap over them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That doesn't bother me. I get you might do that if you're closing up for a season or something.
Right.
I don't know.
Not just at night.
Yeah,
though.
not just at night. But that didn't bother me too much. I don't know the
Right.
inner workings of that store. Whatever. I don't give a fuck. What did bother me, and I thought was hilarious, is that the killer has the ability to cut the power in the store while still being under one of those tarps like a mannequin.
Right. He's got Kate level of supernatural powers.
Yes, he has Kate from the Patrioticals telekinesis powers. And then he jumps at Sarah Michelle Gellar. And
Right.
then honestly, I do sort of love Sarah Michelle Gellar in the scene because
I do
she's
too.
wearing her pageant dress and she's honestly sort of badass.
This is my favorite part of the movie, and this
Yeah.
is this is probably, I would say, the most famous scene of this movie, and I think it's
Yeah.
really well done.
too.
It's and partly because Sarah Michelle Gellar is so awesome. And I love I do think the plastic wrap thing over him is very effective, and I think they do
Yes,
that well.
I
Where
think so
she's
too.
kind of trying to look and figure out was that guy always there? So I think that's really creepy. Because then she finds her sister dead.
Yeah.
And so now she goes out into she goes up to the top floor, And the fisherman's somehow there now, and then she jumps or falls out the window.
Well, she uses this pulley system. It's like a simple machine, and it lifts her up to the top floor.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't even know what that's a callback to at this point. We've just done callbacks to that every time. Anyway, so he climbs the stairs as she's using that dumbwaiter simple machine pulley system, and then she badass overs the rail and then runs to a back room that has no exit. So she's trapped, right? And he sort of slowly continues to walk, and then she opens the window, just fucking jumps out of it. I thought it was awesome.
Right.
It's good for her,
she's
man.
awesome.
And she does all of this in heels and a dress. That's why I think she's a badass. She's great. Yeah.
Well, okay, so she gets to the alley and there's fireworks and we see the parade starting to go by. And so she's running to the parade. And right before she gets to the parade, he's right behind her.
Yeah.
And they're fighting in this giant stack of tires, and then he kills her.
Yes.
So sad.
And she puts up a good fight, man. You see her
She
fighting him off with her hands, and she's pretty bloody, and it's pretty brutal, man.
I think it's a very effective scene, a chase kill scene, you know? And she's so close to the parade and they can't hear her screaming because of the band that's playing. It's just, it's so sad.
Yeah. While all this stuff is happening to Buffy the Vampire Slayer, we're also seeing Jennifer Love Hewitt's character discover some things, right? And she actually discovers what's actually going on, and that's the dad of the daughter has killed the guy they thought they killed, whatever his name was. And they actually ran over the dad, who's sort of a killer already, right?
Right.
He has his own tragic story, but he is a murderer, right?
Yes,
so
he is.
she goes, and I thought she was actually going to try and help Sarah Michelle Gellar, and that's what we were waiting on, but Sarah dies, and so she goes to Freddie Prinze Jr. to tell him what was going on.
Yeah, tell him, hey, we didn't kill a guy, we killed a killer.
Yeah, we killed a killer.
We didn't kill anyone at all.
Yeah, but
we're the heroes.
Sort of, but we're still in danger because it's on the loose, right?
Yeah,
so,
and he's going to kill you.
Anyway, so she looks at him and he's like, we got to go find Sarah Michelle Gellar and Ryan Phillippe. And he's like, we will. Just come on the boat. Let's relax for a second. And then she looks at the name of the boat and it says Billy Blue. And she goes, you fucked Anne Heche?
I thought you only had eyes for me. Is that why you stopped calling me when I went to college?
And he's like, we were on a break.
Right.
So I'm just trying to shoehorn in all my 90s references that I can think of.
Right.
Anyway, so she thinks he's the murderer for 3 seconds while she runs away. And then he gets knocked down by the actual murderer as he chases after her. And then he's like, I'll save you. Get on my boat. So she does.
Right.
She's like, thank you, kind stranger.
But we don't know he's the murderer yet. But yeah, she thinks the safest place for her to go is onto the boat of a creepy stranger.
It's not. You know why it's not, Jen? Because of the implication.
Right. Exactly. Well, and the red string map of murderiness that he's got, just out in the open.
That's
on this
literally
boat.
the room she goes into.
I know.
Because the murderer follows her right in as she's seeing the pendant they dropped on the dock and the photos that he's taken of them at times where you shouldn't take pictures, right?
You mean this morning when she's at the parade that he got developed and put on his boat as he's trying to kill her the whole time?
Yeah, he went to the 1 hour photo, bro.
While he was wiring the electronics thing at the department store to work on a garage door opener that he had in his raincoat pocket.
Exactly. Yeah. He was very busy. He was a busy day, guys. Yeah.
I know, but she walks into the room and she sees a bloody hook on top of a manuscript that says, I'm actually the killer the whole time.
Yes.
So now she knows that she's in danger. So now he's like, okay, fuck, I'm the killer and I'm going to kill you.
Well, he knows there's no hiding it because there's evidence all around the room she's in.
Oh, he says, you've been such a little detective too, Julie.
And it's just as creepy when he says it.
It is.
But he's got his hook, but not his jacket on now. So now Julie's running around the boat, but he's always one step ahead. But she finds a flare gun.
Does she? Does she find a flare gun?
It throws it overboard.
I just drove me insane because she finds and why didn't she just jump off the boat? None of this matters.
She
was really close off the boat. Yeah, she could have jumped off the boat and swam to shore, and it would have been fucking fine. She would have.
There are sharks.
There are not. Whatever. I mean, maybe there's a shark. That's fine. The chances of there being a shark are minimal at least. But there's a murderer on the boat. Get off the boat, Jennifer.
Why was she not holding on to the flare gun? What?
Hey, at least she hasn't dumped gasoline all over herself.
I mean, I guess that's a win in the Jennifer column, yes.
So this guy's driving recklessly at the bridge and makes her drop the flare gun.
It's literally just because he puts the power on the gas and she stumbles backwards and then the gun flies over the rail or whatever.
Yeah, she throws it over her head.
But so now Freddie Prinze Jr. is following them.
And he commandeers a boat.
He does, yeah. And he's climbing aboard. And then the fisherman says, "Welcome aboard, Ray," because I guess that's his name.
I guess that is his name, but we didn't know that. Yeah.
Billy Blue.
Right.
He's like, I can't believe you had sex with David's sister. It's so weird after you thought you murdered him. And like, I murdered you for different reasons, but it's still really odd that you made those choices.
Yeah, it's like, you're as bad as I am in this.
Right. So now Freddie Prinze Jr. and the fisherman are fighting on the boat, and she like unleashes the sails to come down, and there's more boat fighting. And then like Freddie Prinze Jr. is about to like get in a kill shot, and Julie like screams at him and distracts him.
Yeah, she literally pops up from the lower decks just to be like, "Hey, Freddie Prinze Jr., look at me for 3 seconds while you die." Like, there's no reason for her to do that.
Well, she goes into a room, and she like someone's trying to get the door open, and she has to take her sweater off.
The murderer, Jen.
The
murderer. Gordon Fisherman's trying to get in there, right? But yeah, so she's trying to get into like this side compartment or whatever, and she can't lift it up. So she does. She gets into the side compartment, and then she tries to go from the side compartment into the diamond/maybe ice hatch, and she can't open that one. So she figures she should take her clothes off to get leverage, I guess. None of that made sense
This
to me.
boat's as big as a cruise ship for some reason.
Fun fact about that scene. They realized that they shot half the scenes with her having a sweater on and the other half with her not having a sweater on. So they had to add that scene in to make there be
shit. Oh my God.
That's the only reason that scene exists.
That's hilarious.
Wow. Oh,
I
wow.
know.
Okay, that's amazing.
I mean, that fits the movie.
Yeah, good
you know?
for them. They cared more about continuity than story, but good for them.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Hey, somebody noticed at some point.
Yeah, good for them.
But anyway, so she gets into a room of ice, and this is when she finds all of the bodies, which is a very slasher thing.
Yeah, this is a terrible place, like you've talked about from Men, Women, and Chainsaws, right? And this looks horrible. The bodies in here look horrible.
I didn't recognize the first one as Buffy.
Was it Buffy? I just thought it was random dead person.
I think it's supposed to be Buffy and Ryan.
Oh, right. It did not look anything like either of them.
It did.
No, they did not.
Well, and that's not ice, it's gelatin, apparently. So maybe some of the gelatin like melted on them or something.
It doesn't look at all like ice.
No,
it
really
looks like
doesn't.
diamonds, like Mikey was saying. It looks like diamonds.
He's a bajillionaire.
I know.
She just like puts them in her pockets as she's like fighting the rest of the movie.
He's like, I'll hide these bodies in my Scrooge McDuck hold.
Right. So then the fisherman finds her and she's like menacing her from above. And then Freddie hits him with like the hook rope, like Black Christmas style.
Yeah.
And it knocks him out. And then he helps her out. But surprise, the fisherman's still awake. And he says, "Happy 4th of July, Julie."
And then he tries to swing down. Yeah, he tries to swing down with his claw, and he gets his arm stuck in a pulley system. It's a simple machine. And then Freddie Prinze Jr. knows exactly which lever to pull to lift it up.
It's not a simple machine. It's a complex machine because Freddie Prinze Jr. throws the switch.
Exactly. And then that rips his hand off as he reaches the top, and then he falls into the water, and then he's dead. Or
he dead. Yeah, he gets rope thrown into the water.
Exactly.
This is the only horror movie we've watched where I was like, okay, so this is like, he's definitely alive. Like, no, everyone would have survived that.
Yes.
Exactly. And then later on, they are finding, they're saying, yeah, we specifically didn't find his body. So, yeah, he's probably right behind you right now.
The person who's like got the net's like, oh, we got something, which they would only know by the weight of it. That hand is not heavy enough to even be noticed by that weight, but whatever.
Right.
So they pull it up and it's just the hand. And then the officer says, the body will turn up. They usually do.
Right. We don't care.
Like, that is pretty much just saying the body will turn up in the sequel, guys. Calm down.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Yeah. But he does have the hook, though. The hand and the hook, like, which I guess is like rigor mortis-y, that the hand wouldn't have fallen off the hook and it's dead.
Yeah.
It's in its death grip, Jen. Death
It
grip.
is, yeah. But so they're talking to them and they're apparently have gotten back together now because they're embracing. And Freddie says, "I love you. I never stopped loving you, even when I was masquerading as Billy Blue. And no one gets me the way you do." And then she says, "I understand your pain." And
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
That felt like it was a line from Edward Scissorhands. It was so emo.
yeah. And then so the police ask, "Why do you think this guy would want you dead?" And they say,
I did love this.
I don't know.
They look back and forth at each other like, we have no idea.
And they're like, all right, wrap it up, boys.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. So they've learned nothing.
No.
Because the point was they should have called the authorities. They should have actually dealt with this and faced their pain, and that this trauma is going to follow you. And so now they just have more trauma that's going to follow them. But they've allowed themselves to feel like better people because the guy they killed was bad.
It literally is like a sitcom that, like, no matter what happens, no matter how crazy it is, by the beginning of the next episode, it's all going to be back to normal.
Exactly.
Like a Simpsons or Family Guy. Yeah, it feels very much like that.
Right. They're still going to be the same people.
Right.
They've learned nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
They just have let themselves off the hook, pun intended. So now it's
1 year later.
And now we're back at Julie's college.
And she's naked.
No, she's
Well,
in a
she's
towel.
wearing a
Mikey.
towel.
She's in a towel. Calm down.
But she's talking to Freddie Prinze Jr. on the phone, and it's implied that he's back at or that he is at college now.
Yes.
Because she's talking about going to New York, and she's happy now. You can tell she's like, her hair's a little more wavy.
Well, and
something.
she's finally taking a shower. Yeah. And this is when her roommate comes in the room and delivers a piece of mail. Although when I say roommate, I mean just shadow. Yeah, because you don't see her.
The it's all foggy, and so we see a shadow that may or may not be the fisherman. And then we see written on the glass, the steamy glass is.
Let's talk about the note first, because that's the misdirection. So then she goes out to check the note, and it looks like the same handwriting as the murderer. And she opens it, and it says, "Pool party, come to a pool party," or whatever.
And she's like, this reminds me of the murders I was a part of.
Oh, that was a scare. That was a real fright. And then she goes back into the shower. That is the biggest shower I've ever seen in my life.
The nicest college bathroom I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, and it's like steamy and whatever. And then in the door it says, "I still know."
Right. And then she hears a noise, and she turns around to look. And then fisherman jumps through the window like Candyman style and attacks her.
Yes.
And that's the movie.
Yeah.
The credits roll.
You want to hear the alternate ending?
Yes.
Is there an alternate ending? Fuck
there
yes.
There is an alternate
Go. What
ending.
is it?
And they actually filmed it too. It's not as exciting. There's a reason they changed the ending. So apparently she was supposed to be in college and got an email. And the email said, "I still know," but it was in scary font or something. And then the fisherman
it was in Comic
jumped out to get her.
Sans.
Exactly. Yeah. It's in Murder Sans. Comic Sans implies humor.
Jen, excuse me. It was in Serious Sans.
Yes, it was. That's how you save the world with that.
Yeah, but
font.
if you write an email in Sans, you're gonna be picking that stuff out of weird places for like a year.
Yeah. Okay. We've done so many callbacks, and I love it. Let's do it.
I know. But then somebody was supposed to I guess the fisherman was going to jump out of like a closet or something to get her. And they cut it and redid it because that is really boring and anticlimactic. But they used that scene as a teaser trailer for the next movie.
Oh, no shit. Okay.
The sequel is called I Still Know What You Did Last Summer.
Okay. Interesting.
All right. So that was an early fun fact, but I don't think we're ready for those.
I liked it. So having seen the movie, having talked about the movie, let's get some final thoughts. What do you guys think about it now?
It took me back to middle school. I think I saw it in middle school.
Yeah, probably.
At the movie theater. I mean, it was a huge nostalgia trip for me, and I liked it. It was silly and good in all the ways that 90s movies can be.
Absolutely.
Yep, totally agree. Yeah, I thought it was fun. It was fun to talk about. I do think there is, this is the kind of movie that I love because it is silly and fun, but there's a lot of deeper conversation you could have if you choose to dig into it, but you don't have to. You could also just enjoy it,
Yeah.
So I thought it was really fun. I've got a soft spot for 90s slasher movies.
Oh, me
yeah,
too.
I never saw them in the 90s, but I do sort of feel very nostalgic for this time period just because it was around my coming of age time. So I honestly enjoyed some of that. The music sort of tripped me out because it was very 90s bad music. But the music I loved in high school,
There's a softness to it too. A lot of these, there's not a lot of nudity. There's not a lot of really gory murders.
There is some male gaze, especially with Jennifer Love Hewitt, but it's not a whole lot. It's not that bad. It's not 70s, 80s bad.
Right. It's not egregious. And once we start watching some of these 80s slasher movies, I think there's a big contrast.
Yeah. So anyway, I think it's worth watching. I think it's a fun movie. It's not a good movie, but it's a fun movie to watch. And it's not really that scary. I think a horror virgin could watch this easily. There are a few icky kind of tense moments. Not a lot of jump scares. There are a few here and there, but it's not bad. But let's talk box office. So what do you guys think the budget for this movie was? And of course, it was in the 90s. It was 97. So what do you guys think the budget for this movie was?
10 million.
15.
Mikey is closer. It was 17 million.
Ah.
It was released on October 17th, 1997. What do you guys think it made in its opening weekend domestically.
I think it probably did pretty well. I'm going to say 40 million.
35.
Guys, this is just its opening weekend.
22.
And so is that too high?
Yeah, it's way too high.
7 million.
In its opening weekend, it was number 1 at the box office, and it made $15.8 million.
Nice.
Number 2 at the box office was Devil's Advocate. They both opened on the same day, and I Know What You Did Last Summer beat it.
I love Devil's Advocate.
And then filling out the rest of the top 10 was Kiss the Girls, 7 Years in Tibet, In and Out, which is great, Soul Food, Rocket Man, The Peacemaker, LA Confidential, and Bean. So all of those are the top 10 that week, but it beat all of those movies. So it made $15 million domestically in its opening weekend. What do you guys think it made, both domestic and international, in its total box office run?
65 million.
110.
Wow, Mikey, you're pretty close. It was $125
Yeah.
million. If you
Yay!
adjust for inflation, it's around $143 million. Actually, it did amazing. It did great. I'm sure that's why it got a sequel.
This is a fun movie. I imagine, I don't remember going to see it, but I could imagine walking out and saying, yeah, that was a little dumb, but I have fun.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. But that's box office. Jen, you got some fun facts for us?
I do have some fun facts. So this was adapted from a young adult novel by Lois Duncan in 1973 by the same name. It's called I Know What You Did Last Summer. And the plot is significantly different. Like,
is it?
It wasn't a boy. Yeah, they hit and kill a boy on a bike.
Oh,
And
wow.
they
okay.
do they anonymously call the police. There's no fisherman angle. It's not in a fishing village. It's not a slasher. I don't want to spoil the book if you do want to read it. But it's very, very different.
Interesting.
And so Lois Duncan knew, I was reading a quote by her, and she said, oh yeah, I was really excited. It was so long ago, I kind of forgot I wrote that book. But she went to see the movie and it didn't realize till she was in the theater watching it how significant the changes were.
Really?
Yeah, she was like, I think they tried to keep me away from it because they didn't think I would like the changes. And she did hate the changes. She hated what they did to him
I'm sure.
because they changed her from her source material, but also because her youngest daughter was killed by, I'm not exactly sure what happened, but she was killed in an unsolved murder when she was 18. So she didn't like watching these teenagers get murdered like this.
I'm sure not. Yeah.
Yeah. So she hates this movie. So there are sequels. There's I Still Know What You Did Last Summer.
Yep.
Which is so bad it's good, silly fun.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Brandy and Mekhi Phifer are in it. Jack Black is in it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's basically. Have you seen it, Mikey?
Yeah, I've seen it, but it's been a long time.
You want a quick box office fun fact about it?
Yeah.
It did better its opening weekend than I Know What You Did Last Summer. It made $16.5 million in its opening weekend, but total box office worldwide, it only made 40.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that good. It's basically this movie set in the Caribbean. There's also I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer, which went straight to DVD and has a Rotten Tomato score of 0.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah. So apparently it's terrible. There's a reboot in the works right now, but there hasn't been any movement on it recently. But
Interesting.
guys, guess who fucking wrote the script with somebody else? I want to say
Who?
Mike Flanagan.
No shit.
Yes.
Oh, I'd love to see him direct something like this.
I would too, man. I would love it because I think he could really go into a lot of the emotional things we were talking about.
Yeah.
And I just love him. Okay, so let's talk about casting. So Sarah Michelle Gellar was currently on Buffy at the time. Jennifer Love Hewitt was currently on Party of Five at the time. Melissa Joan Hart apparently turned down one of the roles because she thought it was a Scream ripoff. I'm not exactly sure which role it was, if it was Buffy's character or Jennifer Love Hewitt's character.
Yeah.
Reese Witherspoon was in conversation to be in one of these, but I think she turned it down. But she's the one who suggested Brian Phillippe for this part because they were dating at the time. And this was like a big breakthrough movie for him.
Yeah.
And after this movie, this is how he and Sarah Michelle Gellar got cast in Cruel Intentions. They also considered Danielle Harris for the part of Julie, and she is in Halloween 4, 5, and 6. So she's kind of like horror royalty. She's also the roommate in Urban Legend who was
Oh,
like
yeah.
the super goth girl.
Yeah.
And Jeremy Sisto was considered for Freddie Prinze Jr.'s role, which I think would have been much better.
Yeah, probably. I think a ham sandwich would have been much better. But yeah,
Yeah.
you probably could have seen that Jennifer Love Hewitt at least wanted the ham sandwich.
True, yeah. And the ham sandwich maybe would have had a personality.
Right.
So there is like almost no on-screen blood in this movie because the director, Jim Gillespie, really didn't want it to be gratuitous. But then the producer said, hey, you got to add a little more blood in. So he reshot the scene where the sister gets killed to make it more clear what's happening and just make it a little bloodier. So the beach that they go to is named Dawson's Beach.
Yes, I did hear that, and I was like, oh my God, is it like a throwback to Dawson's Creek?
It is, yeah, as a throwback to Dawson's Creek, because I think he was working on Dawson's Creek at the time that this was filmed. So when they were marketing this, there was kind of some drama. Columbia is the studio that owned this one, and they ran posters saying, from the creator of Scream. Now, Miramax, which is the studio that owned Scream, sued them because while Kevin Williamson did write Scream, Wes Craven was the director of Scream. And so they didn't want that. That felt like that was misleading. And to his credit, Williamson had asked them to remove that when he saw it. But so they just didn't want the lawsuit, so they pulled the poster. Yeah, I know. So when they were filming, the four of them would hang out a lot together. And Freddie Prinze Jr. was the only one who was 21 at the time. So he was talking about having to buy them all beer.
Yeah.
Or like he was the buyer for them.
Talking about committing a felony?
Exactly, yeah.
That's a misdemeanor.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Okay, and so Sarah Michelle Gellar and Freddie Prinze Jr. started dating like 2 years after this movie wrapped. Although they became really good friends on this movie.
Sure.
But they got married.
Really?
And they're still married.
What?
So it's like, I think 18 years at this point. Yeah.
Wow, good for them, man.
I know, it's really sweet. They're like one of those Hollywood sweet couples, and they did both the Scooby-Doo movies together too.
Oh, cool.
And those are my fun facts.
Well, thank you for your fun facts, Jen.
Well, you're very welcome.
So let's do that scary scale.
Hey, listeners, our scary scale is a scale we use to rank how scary we think the movie is. It's not a ranking of the quality of the movie, it's how scared we were when we watched it. Our 1 example is Ghostbusters, and our 10 example is Texas Chainsaw Massacre. All right, Todd, what are you giving I Know What You Did Last Summer?
I'm going to give it a 2. It's not really that scary, but there were some like creepy scenes, and there's 1 or 2 jump scares that sort of made me start, get like, oh God. And like,
all right,
we sort of talked about them as we went through it, but I'm going to give it a 2. It's not that scary.
Nah. Mikey?
I'm definitely going to give it a 1.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 1 too.
Yeah.
There's a lot I like about it, and I think there's a lot of scary imagery that just doesn't quite have the emotional punch behind it to make it actually scare me,
It was like a good teen horror movie, like intro to horror.
It feels like reading the Fear Street books or
Yes!
like Goosebumps. And I mean, that's kind of that's what the source material came from. And like, that's part of why I think I like it so much is because it just kind of has that comforting horror feel to it,
Yeah. So this week, you guys made me watch I Know What You Did Last Summer. What are you making me watch next week?
Next week, we are watching one of the franchises we haven't really gotten to yet. Next week, we're going to watch The Purge, the original one.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm actually really scared to watch these movies because they look like they're going to be full of like specifically the scares I don't like, which are jump scares.
Yeah, this one might get you. Although Ethan Hawke will be there to soften
Love
the
Ethan Hawke,
landing.
man. All right, guys, we'll watch The Purge for next week.
Yes, then this is the original Purge with
Right.
Ethan Hawke.
So, Mikey, do you have a review for us to read?
Nope.
All right. Well, while you look up a review to read, let me explain how they can have their review run on the podcast. And that is simply to leave us a review on Apple iTunes and give us a 5-star rating and then type in some text for Mikey to read. And then we'll simply read it on the podcast. It is literally that easy. So, Mikey, do you have a review for us to read?
I got one from AT5115.
Awesome.
They say it's a great podcast.
I agree.
Thanks.
They say, I actually listened to the horror version on Spotify, but I thought I'd cover my bases on Apple too.
Oh, thanks.
Awesome.
I caught Jen on the Losers Club where she blew me away with her Stephen King commentary.
Oh,
Thank
nice.
you.
I followed her to the horror version, which, in my opinion only, hit its stride for me on the Shining episode when everyone got super real on the alcoholic theme of the movie.
Oh,
Yeah,
thanks.
that's fair.
I do think that's a good episode.
That
Me
is a
too.
good episode. I'm playing catch up and recommend that anyone into horror or not into horror but open to experiencing it secondhand should listen to the horror version. 5 stars.
Thank you so much for that awesome review. And if you guys want us to read your review on the podcast, leave us a 5-star review.
Yep, it's just that easy.
All right, guys, we are a member of the Consequence Podcast Network, so listen to their podcast like The Losers Club that was just mentioned in that review, or The Halloweenies, or This Must Be the Gig, Kyle Meredith with, The Fifth Dimension, The Opus, The Assembly. So, guys, check them out. They're great. Also, check out their website, Consequence of Sound. And if you want to check out all of our shit, go to horrorvirgin.com or follow us on social at horrorvirgin.
Yeah.
And if you want to follow us all individually, go to Jenn is at Jenn Ferratu with 2 N's. Mikey is at M Randolph 24, and I am at Todd J Awesome. And if you want to help financially support the show, please do by going to patreon.com/horrorvirgin. We got a lot of great levels and a lot of great things. Just sign up for a level, get all your great perks, and participate in listener requests. And I'm doing a discussion series and watch through series on The Haunting of Hill House.
Yeah,
that people have been enjoying. So, guys, enjoy all of that stuff. Oh, and if you can't financially support the show but still want your daily free content, go to the Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/horrorvirgin, or we link it once a week. You'll see it. Just click on it and go through and then join the group. We're a growing, very welcoming, awesome community, guys. So check it out.
Yes. And thank you so much for joining us tonight. We hope you had a wonderful 4th of July or a wonderful holiday weekend.
Hope you didn't get murdered by a fisherman.
I know, but if you did, hope that it wasn't for keeps and you're going to come back and menace them for the next year. So
yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, thanks. That's going to be it for us today, guys. I'm Jenn.
I'm Mikey.
And I'm your horror virgin, Todd, guys.
Have a great week.
Bye.
I do really like fish sticks, guys.
Fish stick nerds. I grew up on fish sticks. I hate them now. I can't eat them.
I haven't eaten them in forever, but I
like
remember
tartar
really
sauce,
enjoying
man.
them.
I like tartar sauce.
Yeah, you do.
Tartar sauce is like lumpy mayonnaise.
I got some lumpy mayonnaise.
You know what else is like lumpy mayonnaise, Jen?
Nope, I don't know. Yeah.
Jen, Google lumpy mayonnaise.
Oh, yeah.
Consequence Podcast Network.